What is up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to GrindersLive. 2 hours nonstop. MLB DFS conversation starts right now, taking you all the way up to first pitch and beyond. As if you're talking about the FanDuel slate, FanDuel is including the 6:45 game. Therefore, it's an 8-game slate. They're including Boston, Texas. Texas and Boston. 6:45 on FanDuel. 20 minutes after that is first pitch for DraftKings. That's 7:05. San Diego and the Yankees. By the way, I say a 7-game slate on DK, 8-game slate on FanDuel. There's a chance maybe. It's improved, though, throughout the day. Weather-wise, I'll go ahead and drop Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, his weather reports. He did downgrade the risk for Kansas City, officially orange-yellow. I dropped it in chat for the people. What's up, chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Do all those things. Hit all the buttons. Hit every button possible. Help us keep the lights on. It was, I think, straight orange earlier in the day, so technically, orange-yellow is an upgrade. Nothing else really terribly concerning outside of, I guess, New York is yellow-green, green-yellow in Tampa. There's a big old paragraph on Tampa. I presume it's about the pop-up stuff that St. Pete's going to have. Obviously, that's going to happen throughout the year, but probably not so much this month. But as the season progresses, as we get into the season, they really needed that roof in years past because pop-ups happen all the time in the St. Pete area. Joined today, Kyle Murray. Kyle Murray, first baseball show of the season. Kyle, welcome. How are things? You doing all right?
Yeah, we're doing good. The NBA season has slowed down quite a bit, so now I get to do some MLB shows. First one in a while, so hopefully not too much rust. I've been playing a lot of MLB DFS though, so hopefully we'll have some fun talking about it. I've been looking forward to it. So I'm excited to talk some baseball with you.
Likewise, looking forward to it. Do you have any? I'm assuming you still have an eye. I'm guessing you're a Pistons fan. I presume you're a Pistons fan.
Yeah.
Overall, a positive season, like an excellent turnaround. There were some calls that maybe went the wrong way sometimes, and you battled New York. You gave them some punches. Yeah. Literally, it's a tough team, that Detroit team. Some of those guys want to throw down more times than not. But yeah. Any general takeaways? Are we still watching? Are we?
I think we got hit with the mute button. I think the big red button got hit. You must have dropped a curse word in there on accident by the host. I just unmuted you.
I think Tim muted me. Tim, oh my God, you got it. Tim is learning. He's learning how to produce. And I think Tim is just like hazing me. Who gave Tim this capability? Who gave Tim this power? Tim is behind the scenes with producer Steve. Producer Steve is showing him how to produce. Steve's going to be out for a bit. I think he's got a child on layaway, so shout out to him. But Tim's just having fun. I don't know why Tim would do this, but all right, no, game on.
You must get hit with the dumb button. You said we're on a little bit of a delay. You might have said a real bad word, so they had to cut you off real quick.
I said Pistons.
But he thought you said the other word. But the Pistons season, I mean, definitely a positive after winning 14, 15 games last year, but definitely ended on a brutal note. Like, especially, I don't want to relive it too much. The Malik Beasley fumbling the ball out of bounds. I think that if they were a little bit more experienced team, they win that series. I don't want to say easily because it was a lot of grinder games, but and I know the Knicks beat the Celtics in Game 1 after a big comeback, but I think they were in a great spot to win 4 or 5 of those games. So I think they'll have a good bounce back year next year. Hopefully they go get another big name in free agency or on the trade market. But overall, definitely a positive season.
For your sake, for Detroit's sake, I hope somebody's willing to come there because that's always been like a tough thing. Detroit just drawing big name free agents. Hopefully, Cade's a fun enough player to play with. There's the future is bright enough, and they can get somebody to come with. Although the free agent list is terrible this offseason, I'm not sure. Maybe they can work a trade. I'm not sure. Durant's available.
I'm thinking Katie or Zion maybe in the trade market, but free agency is not too appealing, but I think Detroit is definitely on the up and up with the sporting market, especially a lot of good teams, especially these Tigers that we'll talk about in depth today.
Oh yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Yeah. So Detroit in cores, Kyle. Biggest team total on the board. That's at 5 and change. The lineup is not out just yet, unless it just dropped and I missed it. No. So no Detroit in the late game. Toronto and the Angels. No Toronto Angels lineup either. Otherwise, we have every other lineup. The weather it's cleared up in Colorado. It's still cold for what it's worth. It's going to be pretty chilly, I think in the 40s or the 50s. So not the best weather for Colorado. Yeah, the Roth is telling us a few showers around, but the coverage is nothing like it was yesterday. Fully expect them to play ball. I want to see what Weather Edge has to say about that as well. I think it was a downgrade. Yeah, 22% hit in homers, 88 previous games, similar weather. 53 is the temp. I think it drops into the 40s as the game progresses. A little bit of wind blowing in from left field as well, for what it's worth. You have the Royals, who just seem to, I guess every once in a while they get there, but always seem to fail us. But hey, they're facing the White Sox. They have a team total above 5. Stop me if you heard this before, but the Royals will be fairly reasonably popular on this slate. Otherwise, as far as team totals above 5, I think they're non-existent, right? Yeah, Colorado doesn't get there against Jackson Jobe. Big name prospect, hasn't quite, put it together just yet. But that Colorado offense is putrid. I'm sort of surprised we're not at a 5 with Minnesota taking on Charlie Morton. Yep. Don't talk about an ERA, but his ERA is like 10 or so. It's a tough scene in Baltimore when they keep rolling out Charlie Morton. That's the best they got. He's 40-ish these days, and it might be over. It might be over for Charlie Morton. Also, by the way, Royce Lewis dropped to the 7-hole. Speaking of tough scene, figured he'd be a little higher than that, but at least he's healthy. He's healthy enough to play today, so that's a good enough sign. Give me the screenshot. We'll talk pitchers. We'll talk about our favorite stacks. We'll throw all the teams in stacks momentarily after we talk about our pitchers. But I do want give me the screenshot. Give me your overview. How are you seeing the slate before we fully dive in?
Yeah, obviously, Coors Field slate always kind of narrows things down from the perspective of the field. I think whenever there's a Coors Field slate, people instantly check out the stack viability of those teams there. Detroit should be popular, I think rightfully so. Probably have a top 5-6 offense in baseball. They're in that category and a lot of key metrics there. You mentioned Kansas City, popular again. Minnesota, I think, will be pretty popular. And then when you're looking at the underlying sort of secondary stacks, I think there are some sneaky stacks that we're going to talk about, especially one that I don't think is like necessarily sneaky from the Vegas implied run market, but these Yankees, they look pretty low owned. Probably gonna be one of my favorite stacks of the night from a ownership perspective. So I think there's a lot of interesting stacks that are getting a little bit overlooked because of the Coors Field stuff. And then from a pitching perspective, honestly, pretty weak pitching slate in my opinion. You have a couple of guys that really stick out, but not a ton of guys really jumping out from a value perspective, other than maybe Jackson Jobe if you did want to attack the Rockies, although that game is in Coors Field. But from a value perspective, not a ton of super strong options. We're gonna have to sort of dive in through some dumpsters here to find some really strong value options. But you got a couple guys in the mid range that do project pretty well. Christopher Sanchez, Holmes has a decent projection. So there's definitely a couple options, but I would not say it's an overly strong pitching slate, which will lead to, in my opinion, some under-owned stacking options throughout the slate.
On the early slate, we had Robbie Ray, and Dave Potts, Jesus Good, always talks about, the Robbie Ray rule. And, when he's popular, you're supposed to fade him. When he's not popular, you're supposed to play him. And it's not exactly the same thing, but and he hasn't been this guy this year. But in years past, Hunter Green has kind of been that guy. He's been that guy that, a ton of strikeouts, a ton of fly balls. He gives a lot of home runs. Now, so far this season, he's been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. He's just been awesome. As far as, the K rate this year, pulling it up right now, my computer is acting a little bit slow for some reason. I'm blaming Tim for this as well. 33.3% as far as the K rate. The walks have been awesome, 4.8%. Again, a ton of fly balls. So it's really hard to survive in Cincinnati when being a fly ball pitcher as well. The guy they pitched yesterday is a fly ball pitcher too. He survived. I'm forgetting his name for some reason. A ton of strikeouts. Very similar. But, Green's going to be the most popular pitcher on the slate. You mentioned Sanchez, especially on DK with that price. It just seems a little bit too cheap. I know that ballpark's a little bit tricky, a little bit tough, Tampa these days, but it's baked in more than anything. With a 7.5K seems way too cheap. And then there's Holmes taking on Hunter Green, and he's flashed. He's had some moments, but he's been really wild at times too. It's just that's the worst. The pitchers that can't throw strikes. 13.6% as far as walks this season. 25% Ks. That's pretty good. I like that. And the hair is incredible. I'm not sure if you've seen Grant Holmes' hair, but it's spectacular. Yeah. The best locks in the business. He's at least on the Family Feud board. I guess we can have a conversation about somebody else. Dylan Cease, the K's are down like 5% or so this year, taking on the Yankees. You mentioned the Yankees, and I don't think they're going to be popular. What did they drop, a 10-run inning yesterday? I think it was.
Yep.
Austin Wells hit a grand slam. It ruined Michael King's revenge game. He was winning when he came out of the game. He had his revenge, and then they got absolutely shellacked. And then there's like kind of the non-sexy, but like always good, rarely elite, with the exception of one game, Max Fried, who just doesn't give up home runs. He's like safe, right? As much as you can say about a pitcher being safe, like Max Fried is just super safe. I don't know if he's going to ever have an 11 strikeout performance like he did earlier this season. And San Diego, probably not the team to do it against because they're pretty contact heavy. Pulling up the old plate IQ right now, especially with Arise being back. Arise is super contact heavy, 7.1% Ks, dating back to last season versus lefties. Jackson Merrill, left on left, Jackson Merrill, not a lot of power, 149 ISO, but 13.9% Ks, So I like Fried, but I just wish there's a few more Ks in that lineup. You got Maldonado at the back end, but you probably only see him twice, 19.3% collectively. Are you, what do you do? Well, you run out a bunch of lineups, you run 150, you have 3 main, one cash lineup. What do you do as far as, or what do you set out to do tonight? Maybe do something differently depending on the slate, but how many lineups are you making? How much are you whittling down at your pitcher pool?
Yeah, tonight I'm going 3 on each site. So 3 DraftKings, 3 FanDuel. So the FanDuel pitching pool is going to be obviously a little bit tighter, not only because of the fact that you only roster 1, but just from a context standpoint, just because the value isn't as easy to get to, and also it's way easier to fit in some of these spend up bats, while also, at least the ones that I like, while also getting a guy who's still pretty expensive from a pitching perspective. But on DraftKings, I find it easier to take chances on a couple of these guys just value wise because of their price. And I'm going to be talking about Jackson Jobe, so that's going to be an interesting little tidbit there. Obviously, you can't play him on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I think he's in play. So should be fun to talk about.
So talk about it now. Sell me on Jackson Jobe. I know the pedigree. I know he's supposed to be an elite pitcher. I feel like he was right there at Casey Mize as far as like the prospects for Detroit, but he hasn't been good. There's really no way around that. Tell me why he's going to be good tonight.
Well, I wouldn't say he hasn't been good. I think from a DFS perspective, he hasn't been good, but I think from a real life perspective, he's been all right. I mean, yeah, he got roughed up a little bit in the last start against Houston. I think the main thing against him right now is the strikeout upside hasn't been there. And, when you're looking at least guys like this, who we don't really have a sample size on, right? Like he didn't play at all last year until the playoffs. He's had, I think, 5 starts now as a big leaguer. So when you're looking at this and from a, trying to predict what's next for Jackson Jobe, I don't think taking a step back is really something that's going to happen for him. I think he's going to continue to improve. His power prevention numbers have been pretty good, but mainly it's the matchup. This Rockies team is just absolutely horrendous. Like they're really rolling out no talent in this lineup. Yes, there's going to be some power issues because you're in Coors Field, but again, Jobe's been able to prevent some power. So I think if it's a spot where we can see his strikeout upside amplified because of the matchup, I think that's going to improve what he can do here. His CSW numbers have improved tremendously over the last 2 starts. He's been at 28% after being at 23% or lower in his first 3 starts. So again, that's not only getting more comfortable, but also keep in mind this guy added 2 new pitches to his mix that he's been using quite frequently, and those are pitches that he added in the offseason in order to generate more swings and misses. So these are numbers I think are going to continue to improve based on getting used to those pitches, being able to locate those pitches more and whatnot. So and when you look at his strikeout stuff in the minor leagues, they're not elite numbers, but again, he's just so young that I think they're going to continue to improve. And again, mostly comes down to matchup and ownership for me here. And then from a slate context perspective, the next 2 value guys that people are going to are Grant Holmes, who's been roughed up a little bit at times this year, and Christopher Sanchez, who I do think is a good play, but it's also not an ideal matchup for Sanchez either. And, that you mentioned some rain there, not that we are, predicting any sort of delay or anything like that. But again, I just think that there's a little bit more upside in a lot of these pitchers that open up the door for a guy like Jackson Jobe to be a viable option. And again, if you get, 18, 19 points, you're thrilled with that, right? And he's done that a couple times already this year. When you're looking at some some previous starts. So if he can, again, just add a few more strikeouts because of the matchup, and with the rest of the options on the slate being fairly weak, I think the door is at least open for a very contrarian Jackson Jobe to get into play tonight.
It's an interesting pitch. Yeah, I think the best pitch is he's facing the Rockies. Like that's
100%.
what you led with. K percent for this Rocky lineup against righties dating back to last season, 27.5%. The person that strikes out the fewest, Martini at 19.9%, 142 collective ISO, which actually there is some power in this lineup. And Jobe has been good from an ERA perspective, and it's all small sample stuff, right? 3.38 ERA. The Sierra says he's been lucky at 5.22. But like you said, the Ks, 17.6% is the lowest K rate on the slate. Lower than old man Charlie Morton. It's lower than Charlie Morton. And the walks at 13.7% is the highest. So the lowest Ks and the highest walks in the worst ballpark. And my other question is, before we move on, how much do we need that extra like 2K? Is sort of my question. How much do we need 2,000 more in salary? Are you finding yourself that I just want that extra bat or two, and this is where I'm going to go? So I haven't really fully dug into making lineups just yet. Yeah. So I don't really know how loose or tight, or if we have like a super cheap option that's like decent enough where I don't need the cheap pitcher.
I mean, for me, when building Yankees stacks, it's really helpful. And I do like the Yankees quite a bit today. They're an expensive stack, and I think that's part of the reason why they are going a bit under the radar. So I built one lineup so far on DraftKings, and it was a Minnesota-Detroit stack, and I ended up having enough to get up to like Michael Wacha as a secondary pitcher. But like, I really don't. I wouldn't be surprised, and then obviously you have weather issues there with Wacha as well. So that's another kind of debate I'll have to have later. And that lineup is nowhere near finalized. But I think the salary can be helpful, especially with some of these Tigers. If you're playing the Tigers while also still wanting to be contrarian, Tigers are a little bit less expensive in comparison to like the FanDuel context of the slate. But still the extra salary can definitely be helpful. But to your point, it's not like you need it. Like, you don't need to punt the position. You can definitely have Christopher Sanchez or Grant Holmes there. But again, I just think the door is open for him to be viable tonight because of the matchup, because of the ownership, and also just not a lot of slam dunk options at the pitcher spot.
Are you playing Jobe? Are you considering playing him in like something like the 121 or the 150, like the smaller field, single entry, 3-entry max stuff, or you're talking large field stuff?
I don't have anything too large field today, so yeah. If I'm playing Jobe, which again, like nothing's finalized yet. Again, won't play him on FanDuel, but yeah, if I'm playing him on DraftKings, then he's going to be in the smaller field stuff.
You reserve the right to change your mind. You reserve you're not married to your lineups at 5:23 in the East Coast, 2 hours, to mess around and get yourself off the nuts. Yeah. Toronto, it's weird phrasing. Carpenter is out with Toronto. The Tigers lineup is out. Carpenter is leading off. Torres, Keith, Green is batting cleanup. Torkelson, McKinstry, Dingler, Sweeney, and Javi Baez. Javi Baez is batting 9th only because they can't bat him 10th.
Whoa.
Hold on, you're a Javi Baez truther?
No, but I mean the last couple of years, the slander is more than warranted. But I mean, he deserves some respect at least for the time being. I think they're batting him 9th as like a secondary leadoff guy.
That is just a nice way of saying we're demoting. You're calling somebody
no. That's a common thing.
No. That's when they say that's like saying like this guy's a what do they say? This guy's a professional hitter. That's a nice way of saying he's not very good. You know that. They never call Barry Bonds a professional hitter. You just know he's good, right?
I don't know, man. When you're looking at some numbers, there's not many players. I think he's like top 6 in terms of WAR in the AL right now.
What?
And Javi Baez, and also he's playing a fantastic center field. Now I know I'm just going to sound
I'll give that credit. He's from what I've seen, he's done very good, and it's also that'll be useful tonight. It's very useful because of how big the outfield is in Colorado, biggest outfield in baseball. He's done a great job transitioning to center field. I'll give you that. What I've seen. Yeah.
And I know I'm just going to sound like a Detroit slap, but I'm really not. Like I'm really not. Like, it's not that serious for me until the games matter. But no, Javi has legit been I mean, the Tigers expected absolutely nothing out of him, so getting anything from him is impressive, and being able to play him in center field and not have the absolute like, I'm not kidding. You and I both could go up there and do better than what Ryan Kreidler was doing at the plate. And that's just like hope to make that. He was literally just hoping to make contact with the ball. It was quite hilarious. But yeah, Javi Baez has been, genuinely good this year, which it kind of feels weird to say, but he has.
Well, you say they expected nothing. They expected something out of him when they signed him in 2022 for 6 years, 140.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So yeah, now it's about expectations. So if your argument is he's exceeding this year's expectations, 100%. There you go. So if that's your position.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
But I do, at least now, I do wonder if any of that was because of the injury, because he got his hip completely cleaned up at the end of last year, surgery, all that, and now he comes out and he looks a lot better. Right? He doesn't look like prime Cubs hobby, but he still looks a lot better. So
was he a part of the PCA? How did he get to Chicago? Because in chat they're saying Baez helped the Cubs get PCA. I don't recall how that worked out.
Was that the Mets trade?
Went to the Mets got him for the rental that 1 year, Baez, and Armstrong was part of that deal.
So PCA was in the Mets?
Yeah, PCA was a Mets prospect. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I just sort of forgot.
That was for me. But yeah, and yeah, to go to Javi Baez, who really didn't do anything for us, that kind of sucked. But
yeah.
All right. But Young is not in there for Detroit. We're expecting Young to not play, but Keith is actually playing. Only one lefty in that Colorado bullpen, for what it's worth. Darno is doing the catching tonight. I think that means we have the Angels lineup. Did the Angels lineup come out? I assume that's what's happening. Yeah, Neto, Seanwell, Ward, Soler, Ohapi, Moncada, Darno, Rengifo, and Paris. So they're running out both their catchers. I think that means we have every single lineup with the exception of Toronto. I think we got everything else but Toronto. Are there any other pitchers you want to talk about? Any other pitchers you want to stress? You want to sell the people? Did you have a take as far as Dylan Cease? Sounds like you're on the Yankees more than Dylan Cease, if I was hearing you correctly.
Yeah, definitely on the Yankees overseas. I mean, again, it's a small slate, and the pitching options aren't like there's no like one real elite guy. Obviously, Hunter Green is getting the ownership to be that guy, but like if you wanted to take a risk in large field, I have no problem with Cease because there's some strikeouts in this Yankees bat, but I would definitely prefer to be on the Yankees side. I think you made a great point about Max Fried. If you wanted to play him over Hunter Green, I have no problem with that. The Padres lineup does not have a lot of strikeouts, but again, Fried could just work his way through 7 innings and have 6 strikeouts and you only give up a few hits here and there. I will say the strikeouts that he's going to get in this lineup are probably going to come from the guys with power, so there's a little bit of risk reward there, but pretty weak lineup in terms of against lefties. This Padres team, Manny Machado is really the only one and then Tatis, even though he's been bad against lefties, like you still got to fear that. But other guys like Michael Wacha was a guy that I had some interest in, but it's probably hard to play him now with the weather issues. So I guess unless we get a positive update there from Roth, probably not going there.
Yeah, last we saw was Orange Yellow. Roth will be on in about 40 minutes or so. By the way, I'll take the L on this one. I stand corrected. Javi Baez, 2022, if you want to just look at WRC plus, a weighted runs created, 89, which isn't terrible, but not good. 2023, 63, 24, 43, which is horrendous. 139 this year. So I will take the L, which if you're not aware how that works, 100 is the average. If you're 139, it means you're 39% better than the average baseball player. So you know what? I'll take the L. I was wrong. That was unfair of me.
Hey, I get it. He's an easy guy to meme with some of the videos of him swinging at sliders 30,000 feet left or right. But yeah, so
there's some good ones out there. There's some good ones out there. He will bite on that outside, the slider and the other batter's box. He loves that. He's got a little Pedro Serrano in him. Give me somebody to shut up. They fired up the show at 5:30. They didn't want to watch the first half, whatever reason. No worries. Give them the TLDR. Give them the too long didn't read. What did they miss out on? Give me a minute or so, just kind of a synopsis on how you're attacking pitching tonight.
Yeah, up at the top, I think Hunter Green is going to be the consensus option. I think that's more than fine. This Atlanta team obviously is not as, obviously they still have big bats in their lineup, but much weaker than the team that we're probably going to see later on in the year once they get a little bit healthier. And Hunter Green has been very good. You mentioned it, 33% strikeout rate. So no problem with that. I think the consensus SP2 on the slate is going to be Christopher Sanchez here. Guy who's really good at preventing power. Overall, the strikeout numbers have been much better this year compared to last. So definitely no issue with Sanchez. I think those would be the consensus SPs. Holmes is also in the pool for SP2. You have Max Fried up at the top as well. If you wanted to either play him with Hunter Green and some cheaper bats, or pivot off of Hunter Green and go to Max Fried, that's kind of where we're looking at. And then the guy that I threw in the his hat in the ring, Jackson Jobe at sub 7K. Probably not ton of options on the slate that I like outside of Jobe, and that's why he's in play for me. If you're looking to be a little bit contrarian, looking to get a few extra bucks to spend at the bats. So those are kind of the 5 guys that I'm looking at. I would like Michael Wacha if we get a positive update on the weather there, but overall it's not something I'm necessarily holding my breath for.
Is that mostly like, it's not that you like Wacha a ton, it's mostly because the White Sox are horrific, I assume? Is that the biggest?
Yeah. The White Sox are just not a serious team.
No. Did you see how they lost the other day with like a couple follies in the ninth? And I don't know if you saw like a ball bouncing off some dude's head.
No, I didn't.
Do you want to know how many saves the Chicago White Sox? How many saves did the White Sox have this season? Say you saved the game. How many saves? We're a month and a half into the year. How many saves do they have?
Can I look up how many wins they even have?
Yes, you can do that.
Because it can't be high. All right, they have 10 wins, so it has to be.
It can't be more than 10.
I'm going to say 1.
It is 1.
Okay.
It is 1. They have 1 save.
That's so bad.
1 more save than you. It's amazing. I guess when they win big. I think they're like their plus minus is actually not as terrible because they've had a couple of games where they won by a big figure. But they are like you said, they're not a serious baseball team. They're not even trying. Okay. By the way, you see all the stuff we're showing off here on the screen. Producer Steve, I don't know if producer Tim is doing this. He's just busy muting me, learning here on the fly and how to produce. But if you want access to such tools, the Lineup HQ, the Plate IQ, Ross Weather Edge, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA, PGA, like it's all the same price as baseball. So you might as well get all the sports. You commit yourself to 6 months as opposed to going month by month by month by month. You get a 35% discount. Check out the link in the description. Again, football, baseball, basketball, hockey. And Kyle does a lot of the work behind the scenes. He does a lot of content that you see as far as articles and things of that sort. Myself, Dave Potts, Head Chopper, Noto, just the SDL cards. Even Tim sometimes. All sorts of all the bells, all the whistles, the optimizer, Plate IQ, which is where I live. Plate IQ and Lineup HQ is pretty much what I'm doing my baseball stuff all day. Get yourself access, a 6-month subscription, 35% off. And if you're in those props and pick'em streets, if you're dabbling in if you're on Prize Picks, if you're on Underdog, or just in your local sports book, overs, unders, things of that sort, you get 50% off your first month when you sign up for the props and pick'em package, which, Kyle, I believe, I'm fairly certain you are a part of that. Is that correct? Can you confirm?
Yeah, been working away on the NBA props in the postseason. So, and then we also have the prop model as well. That's on a pretty good run over its last it's 16-4 over its last 20 picks or something like that. So, prop model's doing its job as well. So, yeah, lots of good props over there.
All right. So today's tier category, I try to keep it topical sometimes. Sometimes it's just sort of goofy and off the board. This is your first baseball show, so I didn't want to give you any I didn't want to task you with any extra nonsense. So I just went ahead and made this. And feel free to disagree or add some new names or tell me where I'm wrong. By all means, I can accept it. But, I want to be topical. I don't know if you saw, are you aware of the Utah Hockey Club, or were you aware of the Utah Hockey Club?
I am, yeah. Yep.
They're now the Utah Mammoth.
Yeah,
the Utah Mammoth, which, okay. So I was like, let's power rank some team names based on the fact that the Utah Mammoth, the color scheme's pretty solid. It looks similar to Seattle, kind of like the Kraken. The Kraken is gorgeous. I don't know if you've seen the Kraken's jerseys, but really, really nice. So they're doing it right up there in Seattle. I think it's pretty well done as far as the Mammoth. I think Yeti was another option they were considering, which seems more fun, but they went to they went a little less. I think because they have Jazz Bear. Do you know Jazz Bear?
Yeah,
he's kind of like a Yeti, and maybe that would have been redundant. He was actually the mascot for the Utah hockey team. He was doing double duty, or maybe it was a second person. I'm not sure if they hired a second Jazz Bear. But moving on, and also another story that I saw, which happens to be our number one, and you're probably like, what is this team? Who I've never even heard of these people. We can go ahead and reveal the board. Tell me in chat, by the way, let me know in chat the best team nickname in all of sports. And feel free to go off the board as far as college or wherever. If you want to go to Europe, by all means. Because I got a little goofy here, Kyle. of course, you're aware of the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. I'm sure you're a big fan of the Jumbo Shrimp.
I am now.
So the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, they're doing a thing where they're changing their team name for like 4 or 5 or 6 games to the Honey Drippers, and I think it's an homage. This is what I was doing in between the shows. I was doing research. Jacksonville is like a local drink. It's called the Honey Drip. That's apparently very popular in the Jacksonville area. But I showed producer Steve. Maybe producer Steve can show this on the screen. The hat, the merch is absolutely outrageous. It's really, really nice. It's just a temporary name. They're not going to be Honey Drippers forever, but just like they're just having some fun. They're selling some merch. But I mean, look at that. I'm not who am I? I'm not somebody who knows what style is. But to me, that hat pops. I don't know. That looks pretty.
What are you going to wear it with, though, Dean? You got to think about the color coordination of the whole outfit.
I don't know. I don't think I have anything that goes with that. I'm not sure. But do I want to be loud from the head to toe or just top of the head? I'm not sure. But we don't have producer. We don't have Stevie in here. Stevie loves his minor league hats. I wonder if he has a thought on this. Look, that is the drink holding a spoon. It's a bat. It's spectacular. I don't know. I'm not even a hat guy, but if I was a hat guy,
it is pretty good.
I just love that logo.
Yeah, when you first sent me this picture, at first I was like, "What does this have to do with shrimp?" And then I realized that they're changing their name. So now I'm all caught up.
The second team, and I did not send this to producer Steve, but maybe you can find it on the fly. The second team, a team that I was not aware of. I don't know. Maybe you're a big fan of the Scottsdale Community College Fighting Artichokes. Have you heard of them?
No, and I would like to challenge anybody to have been aware of this, because unless you're from Scottsdale, unless you literally are enrolled at Scottsdale Community College, you're probably not knowing this one.
So they have a mascot called Artie the Artichoke, which there it is. There it is. Steve's all over it. How amazing is the fight? Are you intimidating? Who are you guys playing? We're playing not just artichokes. We're playing the fighting artichokes. Like you're nervous, right? You feel like you're gonna take the L before the game even starts. But there you go. Shout out to the fighting artichokes. I don't know what sport they play, but I'm sure they play it well.
Probably all of them. Yeah. At Scottsdale Community College, I'm sure they have the funding for all of the sports.
Yes, they have a never-ending well. And then the Mammoth. I think the Mammoth is good. Pretty strong. Put it in the middle. The Jazz is the worst. The Jazz is the worst. Because, Jazz is a fine nickname, but not for Utah. Utah, you think of how many different things? You don't think of Jazz. Obviously they got the
Mormons.
Yeah, I think that's mountains, snow. Yeah. I don't think of jazz music in Utah. I don't think they were the New Orleans Jazz in the 70s. They just never changed the name for whatever reason. So it doesn't make any sense. So I thought it was kind of a dumb name. That's why I put them in the gutter. And I wanted to stick with the Utah theme. And also I wanted to stick with this is your first show. And I wanted to throw something from Michigan. And you know how things are just kind of what they are. And like, you don't question it because that's what they are when you were born.
Yeah.
But Detroit Pistons, that's what we're doing, Pistons. But they couldn't be the fuel, the engine, the mufflers.
Those names are all horrible, Dean. The mufflers?
It's horrible because you've never heard it before. If they were the mufflers for your entire life, it would sound totally normal to you. But because it's an original idea, it's like, well, that's
the Detroit Mufflers would not sound normal. That is the worst name. You could have, and the fuel actually might be worse. I will say I do agree with the whole. It's just how it's been. That's kind of how I feel about the Red Wings as well. Like I still don't even know what a Red Wing is. Like there's a bunch of conspiracy
I don't know
about
what the origin of Red Wing is. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them, like Metropolitan, the New York Metropolitans. Yeah. That's dumb. But so cars obviously is the theme there with Detroit. Here's the best one, and this is perfect for sports. You ready for it? I'm going to blow your mind. The Detroit Clutch. They're clutch. And, you have a clutch in cars? You like this one or no? You don't like it?
No. So are you saying that's one that you're thinking of or it already exists?
I'm saying clutch will be better than Pistons, the Detroit Clutch. They don't miss in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's fair.
Beasley wouldn't have dropped that ball if they were the Detroit Clutch.
The clutch isn't bad. It's definitely better than the mufflers, but I like the Pistons. and we like to call them the Stones around here. I like the nickname for the Pistons, the Stones, but
the Stones?
Yeah. I don't know why, but that's just what it always has been. Maybe it's like at the end, the Stones. But yeah, I like it. but definitely not the mufflers. Anything's better than mufflers.
Okay, I was getting carried away with mufflers. I was just trying to be outrageous. Mufflers are they're
Well, then, hey,
annoying,
mission succeeded.
the Detroit alternators being thrown out in chat. Yeah, you can kind of the Detroit oil changes. Yeah, brake pads. But I just think, why? What is it about Pistons that says that's intimidating?
Well, there's a piston in the car, like in an
all
engine.
these things are in cars. That's
Yeah,
the pattern.
but it at least sounds better than the mufflers. Like a piston isn't, and then they have like the whole horse related Hooper type mascot that's horsepower.
Yeah, I like all that. I just thought there was a better car part. But it's fair. I understand what they're doing. I appreciate it. Somebody said the Detroit car assembly line workers. It's a little wordy. I think it's a little wordy. It also wouldn't work in like 10 years. When a robot's going to start building the cars. I don't know when that's happening, but all right. So that's our board. And let's go ahead and let's throw some teams. We will rank the FanDuel game. FanDuel, again, is including Boston and Texas. Tanner Houck taking on Tyler Mahle. And Boston is another team that has a 5 total for what it's worth. I kind of just ignored them because I was focusing mostly on DK. But yeah, Mahle versus Tanner Houck. 9.5 total. Boston's a pretty heavy favorite here, minus 148. And best teams, as a reminder for those just kind of showing up now, the absolute best stacks, you're going to throw in Honey Drippers. Your least favorite, you'll throw in Jazz. Somebody asked why New Orleans did not get Jazz. And I think either they didn't want it or Utah wasn't willing to give it up. I think Utah was not willing to give it up because they've established that brand for so long, obviously. Where do we have Boston and the Texas Rangers?
So for Boston, I'm going to throw in the Mammoth category. Tyler Mahle's been a little bit up and down. Obviously, had the injury that he's returning from. Honestly, he's pitching better than I would have thought coming into the year. returning from that injury, still some up and down. And I think from a power and speed combination, this Boston team does have the ability to get it done. When you're looking at projected run totals, they're still right around just under 5 there. Oh, Juan Soto with another home run to spoil another.
Soto. Yeah,
to spoil it for producer Steve again. But yeah,
he was ranting. He doesn't get. He makes too much money, so it doesn't count. Apparently, he was ranting pre-show. He's not hitting enough homers. But go ahead, continue. I cut you off. My bad.
But yeah, I will put so Boston in the Mammoth category, and then we will throw the Rangers in the Pistons category.
All right. Rangers and Pistons, Boston and Mammoth. We shall move on. This is the start of the DraftKings slate. It's Christopher Sanchez, going to be fairly popular, taking on Shane Baz, who is a talented arm, but it's a tough ballpark here, taking on Philly. Philly got loose. We saw some really bad bullpen games. Was it yesterday where Philly put a big number up against Tampa? I think it was Castellanos who had the big hit for him. I don't know. I feel like that Harper and Schwarber are going to be mostly ignored on this slate. For sure, you can always play them. This ballpark has played positive so far. We know the dimensions are the exact same as Steinbrenner. What is Steinbrenner? The exact same as Yankee Stadium. So we like lefty power here. Enter Harper and Schwarber. How do we feel about the Phillies and the Rays? Where are we throwing them on the board?
Yeah, we can go and throw the Rays in the Jazz category real quick. I mean, if you wanted to play the Rays in like a 150 because Sanchez is going to be popular, you can do that. But again, I really like Sanchez. Power prevention numbers have been good, and the strikeout rate has been up. So usually when you see guys improve their K rate quite a bit, your power prevention numbers lag behind a little bit, and they've gotten a little bit worse. The ground ball rates down a little bit, but again, still some good numbers here for Sanchez. So I'll throw the Rays in the Jazz category, and then for the Phillies, we'll put them in the Mammoth category as well. Baz, again, pitcher I do respect a little bit. He's got a 5.5 K prop. Though this is a team that I do think I think he's good enough to get through this matchup, I should say. But again, there's just too many big lineups or too many big bats in this lineup to completely ignore them. So I'll put them in the same tier as the Red Sox. I think they're pretty comparable. And someone did mention Boston not on DK, Boston, Texas on that FanDuel slate. So if you're not playing FanDuel, you can ignore those two.
Yeah, we just wanted to appease that. Didn't want to ignore it. Just one game, and crunch time when they come on, they'll go around the horn. They'll talk FanDuel, they'll talk DraftKings, and they'll be specific. They'll make sure to mention if there's anything that kind of pops as far as that Boston Texas game. It's interesting to see the youngster already batting cleanup there, Christian Campbell for Boston. Casas essentially out for the season. If you guys missed it, I don't think they officially ruled him out for the season, but he's out for the season. Bummer for him. Yeah, you mentioned Sanchez, elite ground ball guy. He's actually been unlucky as far as the homers. I think homer to fly ball at 18.2%. Still, 1.15 is not terrible. So yeah, he's been really, really good at keeping the ball on the ground. We shall move on. Next game up, as I jump to the correct page. Oh, it's San Diego. San Diego taking on New York. Max Fried, we like him a good bit. Speaking of ground ball pitchers, Max Fried, he's going to throw strikes, and he's going to get ground balls. Taking on Dylan Cease, who is sort of uneven. The K's are down this year. He certainly had some peak games in the past. Vaunted Yankees lineup. Ben Rice has been one of the better hitters in all of baseball this year so far in the at least the first month and a half or so. Of course, Aaron Judge has been the best. Nobody's talking. I think he's still batting over 400. I'm pretty sure he's still batting over 400. It's just been outrageous how good he's been. Where do we have the Padres and the Yankees? You got to pay for it. We do live in the world of a salary cap, but Judge has been awesome so far, obviously.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of why I wanted to bring in Jackson Jobe into the conversation. I'm going to put the Yankees in the Fighting Artichokes. They're almost in the Honey Drippers. But I'm going to put them in the Fighting Artichokes tier just because the salary is a little bit more difficult. I think you have to get a little bit more cute there with the pitching if you wanted to fit the Yankees. And then we can go ahead and put the Padres in the Jazz tier. Again, if you're playing 150, you can kind of do anything on a short slate. There are some big bats in this lineup, but I really respect Max Fried there. So we're gonna put the the Padres in the Jazz category.
Yeah, so I just don't, just like earlier today, Framber Valdez, I don't like picking on pitchers that are strike throwers, that keep the ball on the ground. Fried, 0.4 homers per 9 in the season. I know it's a 4.5% homer to fly ball, and that's going to correct at some point, but he's going to throw a strike, 6% walk rate, and get ground balls. And unless it's like he's getting BABIP like crazy or the bullpen really gives it up, it's really hard to see him getting just completely shellacked. So if you want to pick off a couple hitters, I suppose, a little mini, by all means. Like you said, you're running 150, sure. Get yourself some of the fathers in a stack. But otherwise, we shall move on. Nobody just yet's hanging out with the Honey Drippers, Fighting Artichokes. All right. So maybe it gets better as we progress throughout the show as far as our more appealing offenses. Hunter Green against the Braves. Grant Holmes on the other side. 7.5 total. Generally a pretty good ballpark here. It doesn't look like the weather is awesome there. We don't have a huge sample size. I do want to see what Roth has to say about it. But, yeah, the Braves taking on the Reds. Hunter Green, there's going to be if you like the old leverage. I don't know if you're into the leverage thing. The Braves certainly have some good hitters. And Green in the past has given up a lot of homers, and he certainly provides the power. He'll throw the 100-mile-an-hour pitch. Just got to make contact and get the right launch angle. How do we feel about the Reds and Atlanta?
Yeah, I think both of these stacks are leverage stacks, and that's pretty much what they are. I don't think the matchup is great for either. I think Holmes is a fine pitcher. I don't think the Reds are this elite lineup. They do have some bats, certainly. I think they're obviously more appealing when they're at home. But for the Braves, we'll put them in the Mammoth category, and that might seem a little bit high just because of how popular and how much I do like Hunter Green. But again, on a small slate like this, especially when you have a very direct pivot off of Green to Max Fried, you can instantly get some leverage there with this Braves team, and we're going to put the Reds in the same Mammoth category there. Again, I think the Braves have a tougher matchup, but they have a better lineup. The Reds, a little bit worse of a lineup, but a better matchup. So I think they're both in that leverage category. So we'll go ahead and put the Reds there in the Mammoth category as well. For what it's worth, Holmes has been a lot worse against righties this year. And, obviously when you're looking at stacking the Reds, you have Elly De La Cruz, who's going to be hitting from the left-handed side. So that's, a little bit of a disadvantage to stacking the Reds here, but Elly De La Cruz is more than capable of, getting fantasy points in several ways, whether it be, a couple of walks and a couple of stolen bases, and then, adding up as the game goes on. But so that's where we'll put the Reds as well.
You think the Holmes reverse splits are real? I don't know. Does he have a big enough sample? Is it hard to say? I never really know, with reverse split stuff, like how real they may or may not be. I haven't fully dug into it. So you brought it up. Have you fully dug into it, or you're saying like, hey, this is what we're seeing, but we don't know if this is actually a thing that's going to continue going forward?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the numbers, I think it is a little surprising because of how much he uses that slider, and like that's supposed to be a pretty good pitch for him. And so maybe it's just a small sample thing where he's not locating that slider in the way that he needs to get righties out. So I would say the drasticness of the split is probably not real, but when you look at last season, he also was worse from a power perspective against righties. He also struck them out more, again, probably because of that slider. So I would say the drasticness of this split is probably not real, but he probably is going to be better from a power perspective or power prevention perspective against lefties going forward, but he'll probably continue to strike out righties more, or probably start striking out righties more as the season goes on.
Last 30 days, and it's 30 days, right? But it is pretty interesting. Like you brought it up, 30% Ks versus lefties. Now it's only 60 plate appearances, only 60 batters, but the ISO is 0, which means no extra base hits.
Yep.
So it is of note. 30% as far as the strikeouts as well. 181 WOBA, a ton of ground balls. But yeah, I don't know what to make of it, but it is interesting. You just kind of, we'll see, I suppose. All right. By the way, he did get another update from Roth. Let me go ahead and read this because he's on top of Kansas City. He'll be on in about 20 minutes or so. I'll drop this in chat as well if you want to read up the old on everything that's going on weather-wise. This is specifically for Chicago and KC. We're going there in a second. It is orange-yellow, and this is what Roth wrote. Radar looks decent enough for now, 2 hours ahead of first pitch. This low-pressure system will keep spiraling rain in the area all night, and one heavier, slow-moving band over the ballpark would basically mean game over. I'll check radar pregame to see how it looks, but I don't think I can add much more than that currently. So there's a chance of it getting wiped out if we get that one band of rain. So yeah, Roth, of course, the closer we get to lock, the more refined, the better his report can get. He'll tell you what's going on in 20 minutes, and you follow him on Twitter, X, and he'll let you know what's going on there as well. Okay, speaking of Royals at home with the White Sox, the unserious Chicago White Sox. Jonathan Cannon taking on Michael Wacha. By the way, that Kansas City team total that was over 5 earlier today dipped by almost a half a run. Just kind of a heads up. I think it's not great as far as a hitting environment. I'm taking a look here when it comes to weather edge. 86 games, slight hit in homers, 2%, 5% hit and runs. Yeah, 63 is the temp. Coming in about 6 miles per hour from dead center is the wind. Doesn't look great. Interesting that the team total dropped a fair bit. Or like somebody realized, oh, wait a second, the Royals, they kind of stink. They kind of stink outside of a couple players. Where do you have Chicago and Kansas City?
Chicago should just be a permanent stay in the Jazz category for me. If I'm ever on the show, we'll just assume that. I'll keep it updated. But yeah, Chicago in the Jazz category for sure. No interest there. I'm gonna rank the Kansas City bats as if this game's gonna play. I was lost at low pressure system. That's where I get lost. So I'll wait for Roth. I'll wait for the last minute update for Roth. He'll probably give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So I'll put Kansas City in the Fighting Artichokes tier. Like them quite a bit. Jonathan Cannon, I don't think he's been as much of a gas can as like a lot of people want to think. He has been bad, don't get me wrong, but the fly ball numbers, that's kind of where he really struggles, right? He doesn't keep the ball on the ground very well. He has been striking out lefties at a decent clip this season, which is probably the reason why some of these numbers are looking, sustainable or at least not like we're completely attacking him every single time he's on the slate, but still definitely a good matchup for the Royals here. Obviously, you got plenty of big time bats as well with Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, and Salvi Perez there in the middle of the lineup. But you got a couple of ways to sort of put together a decent stack with some value guys as well. Drew Waters, obviously, former top prospect of the Braves, I believe. He's put together a solid season so far on the year. When you look at the start of last year, 156 ISO, 335 WOBA, which is second highest WOBA against righties in this lineup. So like him quite a bit, like Kyle Isbell as well, who I believe homered last night or 2 nights ago, whenever that was. Yeah, last night. Also has some stolen base upside as well. So a lot of ways to get this Royals stack done if you want to do so. So I like them in the Fighting Artichokes tier.
You're quoting the numbers. I'm curious. I kind of bounce back and forth, and I'm not sort of married to an idea, but you're quoting this year. Did you no longer stretch back to last year? Like depends upon the situation. Like maybe I'll look at last year. I usually go to current. and last season, just because I want like a bigger sample, but also players are always changing. So do we have a big enough sample this season where you're comfortable basically sticking with this season as far as hitters?
For hitters, I do like to still look at current and last, but there are scenarios where like young guys who have primarily played this year, I'll probably look at this year's numbers a little bit more. But yeah, so for those numbers I just mentioned for Drew Waters, those are since the start of last season, so current and last in played IQ. But for pitchers, I'm pretty cool with looking at the current season this year, just because pitchers make so many changes in the offseason to where I think that even though it's a little bit smaller of a sample, there's a lot of context to be pulled from even smaller sample numbers on this season so far. Obviously, there's definitely going to be unique stuff that change and add a lot of kind of noise to stats. But yeah, for hitters, I'd like current and last still, probably for the next month or so at least.
You make a good point about Cannon. I think we want him to be worse than he actually is. I'm not saying he's good necessarily, but he's not. I don't think he's horrific, which is we just assume if you're in a White Sox uniform, you're horrific. And that's their pitching, I don't think is as bad as we want it to be. At least their starters. Just taking a look at his stuff so far this year, he's been okay. Not certifiably terrible. A little too many walks. 10.1% walks is a few too many for me. But all right, let's move on. Again, 15 minutes or so. We got to have crunch time jumping on. We got 3 games left, 6 more teams. Still nobody in Honey Drippers. Nobody's dared to venture into Honey Drippers. We have Charlie Morton taking on Simeon Woods Richardson. Minnesota is a -142 favorite. Charlie Morton, good for him. Keep cashing those checks for hanging on, but it's been a tough scene. It's been really a tough scene for him so far this season. Not been good. They tried him in the bullpen. That's not working out. Baltimore's rotation is bad and injured. They desperately need Grayson Rodriguez back. I don't know when that's going to happen. So does my dynasty team, if we're being honest. And I know that's what you want to talk about. The people, they want to ask, well, how's Dean's dynasty team doing? Not great, in part because, it's a rebuilding year. I'm the White Sox this season. Yeah, it is unfortunate. That definitely felt authentic and not sarcastic in any way. Where do we have Baltimore and Minnesota?
Yeah, you mentioned nobody in the Honey Drippers. I'm very selective with my Honey Drippers. Okay, so I am going to enter a team there. We're going with Minnesota in the Honey Drippers, and honestly, the lineup I wish was a little bit better. I think there are some ways to, obviously you got some guys that are out of the lineup, but I think that this lineup could be a little bit better for a Honey Drippers-esque team. But again, the matchup against Morton is just so good. Obviously, he's been a guy I've been picking on all year, and everyone else has as well. So no real surprise there. Prefer lefties here against them, but they don't really have a ton of lefties. So, you got Cody Clemens, who had a home run a couple days ago. Trevor Larnach is like a staple if you're stacking the Twins for me. I like that they moved Jeffers up to the 3 spot. So these, I guess, 1 through 3 are guys that you're for sure stacking: Buxton, Larnach, Jeffers, and then the next best options. Royce Lewis obviously just returned. Like him quite a bit, even though they moved him down in the lineup. Brooks Lee is a value option as well with some stolen base upside. And then you have Carlos Correa, who's gotten hot as of late. And then you also have Ty France. So tons of options. And you can also play Willie Castro. You can literally play 1 through 9 here. So I think Minnesota definitely in the Honey Drippers category just because of the depth that they have and how bad Charlie Morton is. You want to know who the Orioles could use right now? Corbin Burns.
This version? He hasn't been great.
True.
They could in theory, but
it would be better than what they have right now.
Minnesota's probably like, you know what? You want him for this money? He's yours. They would probably return to sender. But you're making a fair point. Like Baltimore probably should have tried to find somebody. Morton wasn't it.
Definitely.
And you have a window in Baltimore. You have a window, and I go on this rant about the Pirates and just wasting Paul Skeens, like signing nobody, just nobody. Sign anybody that's decent in this. Just another year, you're just rotting away. And when he signs with somebody else, oh my God, I can't believe we lost him. Well, you weren't going to pay him anyway.
Seattle did the same thing as well. Just didn't really make any moves, but
their offense has come alive. To be fair, so far at least, Seattle. Big Dumper has taken a big leap this season as well. I was trying to figure this out for Baltimore. If Morton, he pitched a couple days ago, not too long ago, he probably isn't pitching that deep, even if he's doing fairly well. And if any sign of trouble, he probably gets the hook. I was looking at their bullpen trying to figure who might come in. There's 3 lefties, which Minnesota kind of does the pinch hit thing, which is a little bit concerning. Like Julian's no longer on the team. He's the guy that would get the hook sometimes when a lefty come in. They send him down. But I don't know if you had a thought on this, but who's the long man for Baltimore? I don't see anybody. I don't know who would come in. So I was just looking at their bullpen. I'm like, who might come in? And I didn't come with an answer.
I guess I think I don't know. I guess I don't really have a great. I haven't looked at it much. I do agree though. I definitely do not expect Morton to go any more than 3 or 4 innings. He threw 24 pitches a few days ago, so definitely not going to be a 90 pitch start for him here. But I still think if they'll probably try to get as much out of him as they can. Maybe Povich will be the next guy if they're going to bring in a lefty. I will say though, if you're rostering a lefty, the only one you would really have to worry about for pinch hitting is Clemens. He's the only true lefty that isn't Trevor Larnach. I don't think they'll pull him. So probably okay from a pinch hitting perspective there.
Am I wrong in saying Povich pitched yesterday? I think he might have pitched yesterday.
Oh, he might have, but he's not. His game log isn't updated. So
yeah, he pitched yesterday. Yeah, I was looking at it as well, and I'm like, why is he not noted here? But I guess the yesterday stuff's not in there. By the way, it's just a random thought. I'm looking at the Baltimore bullpen. The youngest person in their bullpen is 29 years old, which seems kind of strange. That's right. Like their youngest pitcher is 29 in the bullpen. Okay.
Yeah, that is pretty strange.
No young arms down there in the Baltimore pen. Okay, let's talk about your Detroit Tigers in Colorado. Chase Dollander, supposed to be good, allegedly good. I'm told he's good. He's a big time prospect. He's shown a little bit of flashes, but for the most part, he's not been good so far. Not a complete, he's not a complete project. Is that the right way of saying it?
Yeah,
he's still figuring things out. As is Jackson Jobe, who's two of these guys. This in like 3 years, this could be like, oh man, Jobe versus Dollander, two studs going at each other, right? We'll see. Stay tuned. But this is DFS. We care about tonight and tonight only. And tonight, Dollander doesn't look great. And Detroit, Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green taking the next step. Who's better amongst those two? I think Green's better than Carpenter. Do you have a take on this?
Man, I think Green's the more complete player for sure. But if you're putting them up, if both guys get to hit against a right-handed pitcher, I'm taking Kerry Carpenter for that one at bat. But Riley Green's definitely the more complete player.
By the way, walk back just for a second. Baltimore producer Steve was trying to figure out where do we put Baltimore. We didn't put them in Jazz, did we?
I didn't actually rank them. I was talking too much about the Twins and making fun of Baltimore, the pitching. But I actually like Baltimore in the Fighting Artichokes tier. Like them quite a bit here. This could be a game stack as well. So obviously this is a game that I think is one that could put a bunch of runs on both sides. Simeon Woods, guy who does have some upside in my opinion, does strike out righties at a pretty healthy rate, but gives up a lot of power, a lot of hard contact, doesn't keep the ball on the ground. Plenty of bats here in this lineup for the Orioles that I love quite a bit. I do think that I like, if I'm ranking the Fighting Artichokes, I like the Orioles more than the Royals for that, what that's worth.
I like how you're doing tiers inside the tiers. I appreciate that. It's like the Matrix or something like it. I appreciate the extra analysis. Do we like? It sounds like we like the over in Baltimore, Minnesota. If I'm hearing you correctly, I feel like.
A little shout out to some of the guys at Scores Nods. I know Charlie and Britt were both on some overs. I think it was mainly Minnesota team overs, which I tailed those. But so I haven't bet the over in that game yet, but it's probably gonna be one that I'm gonna look at for sure.
All right, back to Detroit and Colorado. Detroit biggest team total on the board. They're locked in for 9. There's only one lefty in that Colorado bullpen. How do we have Detroit and the Rockies?
Yeah, Detroit's going to be the number 1 honey dripper team of the day today. Like them quite a bit. And again, I think the best part about this Tigers team when you're stacking it today is there's so many different ways you can do it. I don't think many people will look at Colt Keith. I don't think many people are going to look at guys like Dylan Dingler. They might more so on DraftKings. We have to roster a catcher, but Dylan Dingler is going to be a really good FanDuel play from an ownership perspective. Trey Sweeney as well. I mean, Colt Keith and Trey Sweeney, both guys who had a really strong week last week. Colt Keith had 3 home runs after pretty much not playing baseball very well the first month and a half of the season. So he's coming on a little bit as well. And then Torkelson I haven't looked too much at Torkelson's specific ownership on both the sites, but again, with all the salary being directed towards Carpenter and Green, would not be surprised if Torque goes a little bit overlooked because of that splits there where people want to use those lefties against the righties. So love the Tigers today. They're going to be in the Honey Drippers tier.
You mentioned Keith, and I think Keith is going to be fairly popular just because, second base is a terrible position. So I just want to get out, in and out as quick and painless as possible sometimes. And you're giving me the number 3 hitter in cores for 3-2. Okay. Like, I don't know if he's a good hitter or not. Like, he's had his moments here and there. But I mean, I can see people landing on him, especially for cash. And then people just kind of translate their cash team to tournaments, that kind of deal. Yeah.
From a value perspective.
Bad chalk.
Well, so we have Gleyber Torres more popular as well. Like, I would rather play Colt Keith than Gleyber Torres for the price, especially if you're trying to get all these other big. I don't think he's bad chalk though. No, especially if he's going to be, not 50% owned, which I guess in smaller stuff he might. But if he's going to be under 20, 25%, I don't think that's bad chalk for Colt Keith.
That's a good point. It depends upon salary, right? Like, maybe spending up to be. So I feel like that's spending up to be different, but our ownership stuff is saying otherwise. So it's saying that people are going to grab Gleyber Torres at 5'6". I know he's playing in cores, right? But probably is too expensive. I don't think he's that good of a hitter, but he's fine. If I had the salary, I guess. But like you said, if you're prioritizing bets on Detroit, you're first probably going to want to get, Green or Carpenter. But the other thing is that, the alternatives are much better in the outfield as opposed to the alternatives at second base. So it's an interesting decision point. Rockies. Where are we throwing the Rockies?
Just out of respect for their field, we'll put them in the Pistons tier. But there's nothing to do with them, only with the environments in which they're playing it.
Yeah. Another unserious team there in Colorado. Still no Toronto lineup. Just it's still 3.5 hours until first pitch. So I guess that's not terribly outrageous. We do have the Angels. By the way, we're going to need some homers as well. The people like the home run calls. Everybody has like their gimmick. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. Chop's got his knockers. Tim's got his taters. I have dongs.
Way back in the day, I used to write an article and I would do home run calls and I called it the bleacher report, putting the ball in the bleachers. So I guess that will be mine, I suppose.
Was that copywritten? I feel like that's also a thing there. There's the confirmation.
No comment. I plead the fifth.
You've never heard of anything else called bleacher reports?
Never.
You don't know of its existence. Nobody's ever said a cease and desist of any sort. Okay, fair enough.
Never got any paperwork, and I plan to keep it that way. We'll call it the bleachers report. That way, it's a little different.
Call it. I'm not trying to tell you what to call it, and it's your thing. But the people are going to want that. Feel free to get a couple of those in the holster before we step aside and make way for crunch time. They should come on in about 5 minutes or so. Kirkwood, Kirkdiese. Oh, Kirkwood, by the way, he's got Juggalo bombs. I don't know if you wear. Are you a part of Juggalo Nation?
Never heard of that either. I'm also pleading the fifth there.
Kirkwood likes to pretend he's a fan of ICP. Okay, so let's talk about this last game. It's Toronto and the Angels. Kikuchi taking on Jose Barrios. 8.5 is our total. No Toronto lineup just yet, but I assume we're going to get nothing goofy here. We'll note otherwise. Unless otherwise noted, we're going to assume it's going to be Bichette, Vlad, Santander, Springer, who banged one out last night, Kirk, Varsho, Clement, Straw, and Jimenez, who basically has not done anything since the first week of the season. He's gone ice cold. I think he can still steal a base, but there's really no power there. Angels, Blue Jays, what do you got?
I will throw the Blue Jays in the Mammoth category. There's not a lot of lefties in the lineup, but it would be a strictly right-handed stack for me. But Alejandro Kirk as a catcher option, like his power. Obviously, you have Vlad and Santander. Springer, not as much power, but has hit lefties pretty well. I mean, Bo Bichette, if he just would get his things together, that would be a much more complete way to stack. But this would be more of a mini stack option for me. And then for the Angels, throw them in the Pistons category. Jose Barrios is definitely a guy who has the ability to be very volatile and give up a lot of power, but also has the ability to be a pretty shutdown pitcher at times. So this Angels lineup isn't really one that I'm overly excited to attack. I think there's just plenty of better options, so they'll go in the Pistons tier.
You mentioned Bichette getting his stuff together. I think, is it just one home run this year so far?
I think one, yeah.
He was terrible last year. He cut the hair in the offseason. People thought that might do something. And he's going into free agency. He's not timing his free agency right. He's not timing that right. It's not been a good start for Bichette. Kirkwood, Kirkdiese, Neil's coming on as well. leader of Flannel Nation, as well as chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. They're jumping on in a few minutes. There were some suggestions in chat, by the way. They suggested Bleacher Blasts. I don't know if you want to avoid any sort of. Again, it's up to you.
I'll take on the big corporation, and I'll stick with Bleachers Report. Someone else has said Murray's Moonshots, which I don't mind, but
okay,
either one.
What up, Murray's Flurries?
That sounds
Flurries?
like snow.
That does. I think flurry is snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if a flurry means a homer. I don't know. Avalanche sounds like a ball. An avalanche goes further than a flurry. I think if we're gonna. I know it doesn't fit the M&M, but
Herb said Kyle's Piles, and that's probably what they will be when they go 0-for-4 on home runs. But
you're only as good as your last home run call. That's just how that goes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I've offended Kirkwood. My apologies. However, so Kirkwood hanging out in the chat. This is classic Kirkwood. Hanging out in chat, but not hanging out in the, actually in the, we're in the bullpen. We're waiting to jump on the show. They're waiting, but he's in chat, but he's not actually waiting in the Zoom room. So he should be jumping in here momentarily. Let me give a recap of the board. Two teams hit the Honey Drippers. That'll be Minnesota and Detroit. We also have two teams in the Fighting Artichokes. That's New York, Kansas City, Baltimore. But let me know if there's one person out there that's ever been to a Fighting Artichokes game of any sort, any sport. If you're aware of the existence of the Fighting Artichokes, let me know.
You're not going to find anybody. It's not possible. They don't have stands for guests to view their games.
It's a big city, right? Isn't it a bit? We're talking about Scottsdale. I know they have a lot of golf courses. I don't know much else about Scottsdale.
People are doing way better things in Scottsdale than going to a community college game. I hope.
In the middle, the newly named Utah Mammoth. We have Boston, Philly, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Toronto, the Detroit Pistons. The fourth tier, that's Texas. Texas only on FanDuel. We know that. Some people are. And Boston's only on FanDuel. We just want to acknowledge the game in Boston. That's starting at 6:45 as far as the FanDuel slate. Pistons have Texas, Colorado, the Angels. And down there with the Jazz, the Utah Jazz, which we don't question because that's the way it's always been, unless you're a really, really old person and you remember that, no shade, but you remember in the 70s when they used to play in New Orleans. It's Tampa, San Diego, and like you said, it's the White Sox home. The White Sox are, every single day. It should come preloaded with the White Sox in the 5-hole. All right, give me some bleacher bombs. Who's going yard today?
Yeah, we'll start off with some chalk, and I'm going to Riley Green. I know it's chalky, but I really like his spot here. Dollinger likes to throw the fastball over 53% of the time, and Riley Green has a very subtle 500 ISO against right-handed fastballs since the start of last year. So we'll take Riley Green. A little bit more contrarian, we'll go to Ben Rice, lefty for the Yankees against the Padres. Like him quite a bit in this spot. Also, a little bit more contrarian, Ryan O'Hearn batting in the 4 spot for Baltimore. How many do people normally give out?
As many as you like. Fire away. Here's the thing: you could just go, volume. You could be a volume shooter, and you get a couple knocked down. That's all the people remember, right? They don't remember the ones you got wrong. So
yeah,
if you got any more, feel free to go for it.
Yeah, I got at least one more. I will take we'll go to the Toronto game here. Looking at I'll go with Anthony Santander against Kikuchi, big time power guy. So that's 4. We'll cut it off there at 4.
So Toronto, I guess, made a move. Rodin was just sent down, so I imagine their lineup is going to be coming up shortly. That might have been the holdup there. They sent down Rodin, so he's not going to be playing baseball tonight for the Blue Jays. All right, let's do it. Let's go ahead. Let's seamlessly bring in Crunch Time. Chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. We got Neil Orfield. It's currently minus 600 on the DK Sportsbook. He's wearing flannel. And then Kirkdiese as well. Let's do it. Crunch Time right now. Oh, wow. Shocker.
Oh, what? Said. Oh, baby. Wow.
I didn't hear what you just said, but it's like 80 degrees here right now. I don't wear flannels when it's 80 degrees out.
You got to play the bit. You got to play the gimmick, man. You're married to it. This is what you are.
There it is.
You got to lean in. Is it? You have AC? You got air conditioning?
I don't in my office, where I do the shows. I bought a couple of short sleeve flannel looking shirts, buffalo plaid shirts, but yeah, just didn't remember to put it on today, I guess.
I remember you taught us about buffalo plaid a few months ago. I wasn't aware of that. That was a whole new world that I did not know existed. I'm like, yeah, I did a little Google. I didn't buy anything. I didn't break down. That's your turf. I'll stay on my lane with my hoodies. But they seem delightful. You
should check them out.
I think Roth broke down and bought one or two, if I'm not mistaken. The buffalo
Yeah,
plaid?
I love them. And my wife hates them, but I think they look great. So whatever. I don't care.
Whatever.
It's so passive aggressive. Just wearing just a.
I do. I wear them now more than anything else in my wardrobe because she hates them so much. So I'm always in my flannel, just like, yeah, feeling good.
Nice.
Least favorite color is purple as well. All right. Kirkwood, how are things? Doing all right? Everything good?
Yeah. I think Neil, I lost a bet too. If it wasn't flannel, I would have guessed crew neck over V-neck. But
no, I don't really like crew necks. I like the V-necks. Got to show off a little chest hair.
Yeah, a little chest hair.
It's really
give the people what they want.
I don't love things touching my neck. Like I hate wearing it's like a thing that runs in my family. My brother has the same thing. Just like don't like things touching my neck. So when I can avoid it, I try to.
All right. Myself and Kyle, we're going to see ourselves out. Kyle, good first show. Do appreciate y'all watching. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Don't go anywhere. We got 50 minutes of nonstop MLB DFS conversation, presumably taking all the block on the DK slate. 30 minutes for FanDuel. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. The drill's crunch time. By the way, I really like Murray's moonshots. That's a nice bit. Kyle's just hanging out. You can hit the hang up button. It's okay.
No, I'm gonna stay here and listen to you talk about my fun name.
Murray's moonshots is great. I like it. All right, I think you should keep that. What's up, guys? Got two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Kirkdiese in the house. What up, Kirkwood? How are you?
Doing well. Had a nice slate last night. Had a nice 7.5 plus 750 live bet on the Cleveland Indians today that made my day. So I'm in
so
a
you're
good
doing
mood.
good. Hey, how's Boston?
Besides the Celtics.
Yeah, not to bring you down, but how about them Celtics, bud?
They missed 45 threes. So here's the thing with the Celtics. It's if they hit their threes, they're going to blow you out. And if they don't hit their threes, don't even worry about covering it. They might lose. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I called that, like if they don't hit their threes, they could lose. And 45 missed threes. Is that a record?
It was a record. It was an NBA record, most missed threes of all time, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel sorry for the Knicks tonight because they're gonna just put it on them, I think. But maybe I'm wrong again. We'll see.
Yeah, we shall see.
We got real well last game.
Well, it was
popped in,
went to overtime, and they missed 45 threes.
Yeah. That's okay. We played a shit game too. We still beat you.
Yeah, sure you did. Bing bong. We'll see you at the end of it. We'll see you at the end of it.
Pat and Brunson sat almost.
Well, you know what, Roth?
This is the same
step. This is the same thing Roth did last year, and
I learned.
He ended up eating his words, but we'll see, Steve. We'll see.
Yeah, I am obviously cheering for the Knicks for what it's worth, but we'll see. I just want it to be a series, and the only way that can happen is if the Knicks win a few more games.
Well, we got every series is crazy right now. Everyone, Cleveland down
very
2,
fun.
OKC down. It's like
I didn't know Halliburton was that dude. I didn't know that he was carrying.
That was
he
incredible.
was like South Park meme with the wheelbarrow.
Yeah, everyone says he's overrated. Like shove that, and then not only that, the Wolves couldn't beat a Steph Curry-less Warriors. Like it's been crazy. It's been mayhem.
Yeah.
Wolves
trying to beat the record for most missed threes, by the way. Like they were threatening it.
Yeah, which is not great for you guys. We do have Neil in the house, the flannel god, the aforementioned. What's up, man? How are you?
Not great.
Sorry, I feel like shit. I'm gonna be coughing, sneezing. I'm sorry. I'm sick, but
I've been sneezing. I think it's allergies probably.
Yeah,
I'm blaming it on allergies. I've been sneezing a lot, not feeling that great. Wolves lost to a Steph Curry less Warriors, so didn't love that. I re-aggravated my Achilles injury last night. Just a tough couple days for me. But hopefully we can make some money tonight.
You're on the DL?
Yeah,
I'm on the DL. Yeah.
Sucks. You've been getting after it too. I know you've been running a bunch and really working hard.
I think I have Achilles tendinopathy, which is an overuse injury. So I think it's just because I've been running too much.
Okay, we're gonna have to get you on the bike now, which is not as fun.
Here's a good note on the Wolves, just to tell you that they're actually the odds are better right now, or worse for them to win. They're actually more favored to win now because Steph's injured.
Probably out for the series,
even though they gave him a free game.
Yeah. They're going to win. They'll be okay. That team's not very good. Certainly not without Curry. All right. Hey, let's get into the content side of things. People want to know about the weather, and I will say there's a chance of a late start in Colorado, but the game's fine. There's a chance for a delay in Atlanta. Probably not, but at least worth noting. But then the big one is what's going on in Kansas City. You've got low pressure spinning around. Right now, everything looks great, but I know that there's going to be more rain spinning in. So my current thought is whatever you have, let it ride. If you want to play dudes in Kansas City, that's fine, as long as you can make a pivot before lock. Two things. First, understand it's not safe. And two, make sure that you can make a pivot before lock, because I'm going to have a pre-lock update. We'll see what radar looks like. And I might just be like, it's too risky. I don't know what's going to happen. Or I do know what's going to happen. It's going to get rained out, and you guys have to pivot. But for now, I say leave your dudes. And just make sure you have a pivot in case we need to. And that's all I've got. I don't really want to talk anymore because I feel like crap. So I'm going to hand it over to Neil. He's going to talk to us about pitchers. What do you got?
Pitchers. All right. Let me see who I've got on DraftKings. Do we do this different by site? I mean, I think it's probably a lot of the same pitchers, but
yeah, if there's something like wildly different, certainly point it out, or but mostly we just kind of walk through it.
Aren't we just going to go FanDuel first because of the quick lock, and then?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
When is FanDuel lock?
6:45
or 6:40.
Nah, we got time.
All right. I will go to my FanDuel pitchers, see who my highest exposed are currently. So Grant Holmes, my highest exposed, he is only 8.4K on FanDuel. Looking at that Cincinnati lineup, there are a lot of big strike. There's like 4 bats that are like 25% or higher strikeout rate against righties since the start of last year. So really nice matchup for strikeouts. He's a strong strikeout pitcher. So Grant Holmes, my highest exposed. Then paying up for Hunter Green, another great strikeout pitcher, 10.6K. So you have to pay up a little bit. Christopher Sanchez, I like here. Michael Wacha. Those are the only 4 pitchers on FanDuel that I got to above 10%. So those are the 4 that I have the most interest in. But just I think Holmes, Green, Sanchez are the 3 that I'm really targeting on FanDuel, and then get into a little bit of Wacha, Tanner Houck, Max Fried.
How about on DK? Is there anything else, or is it the same names?
I believe it is largely the same names. Let me double check. Yep. So it's Grant Holmes, Christopher Sanchez, Hunter Green. So I think a slightly different order maybe. And then, just a little bit. Actually, I have 33% Michael Wacha. So I'm getting to more Michael Wacha on DraftKings with the 2 pitchers. And then I guess a little bit more Max Fried, since we do have 2 pitchers getting to other pitchers in double-digit exposures. But the 3 highest for me on both sites are Grant Holmes, Sanchez, and Hunter Green. And then just kind of getting a little bit here and there of other pitchers.
Okay, good stuff. Kirkdiese, your thoughts here? Both DK and FanDuel. And we did get a question. Jerry says, FanDuel cash pitcher, is it Holmes?
Yeah, I do think we should just do FanDuel first, and then. But I'll be quiet.
Here's what we're gonna do. Well, this is what Cheese recommends in this spot. We'll go through pitchers for both, and then we'll just talk about that FanDuel game. We'll just talk about the Red Sox game.
Okay.
And then we'll just go through a whole build with DK, and that's pretty much that.
Okay. For FanDuel pitching, Hunter Green is the best option if you can get. He just comes with such a high floor with Ks. It's a tough matchup with Atlanta, so it could go south. He's had one rough start and then like a bunch of amazing starts all season. He's clearly the highest K guy. Christopher Sanchez, I've been beating the drum on this guy for a long time. Nobody thought he was good last year, and he was. I've always thought he was good. I think he's great, and I think that a matchup with Tampa, the only thing I worry about is the park, but there's K's there, so I definitely like him. Those are the top 2. If you need to save some money, you just go Grant Holmes. You get a really long pitch count or pitches with him, pitch count, but you don't get much efficiency usually, because he definitely walks a lot of guys, but he's got strikeout stuff. He's a good pitcher. He's 8,400. If he since he is a little aggressive too, so if they do swing a lot of his stuff, this could work out nicely for 8,400. And then the other cheapie would be the guy in against the White Sox, the Royals pitcher Wacha. But it's kind of like last night. Like, he's not going to beat you. You're not going to end up being like, I had to have Wacha on the slate, because you know, he just does not K a lot of people, but it is the White Sox. So those are the core for some deeper GPP stuff. You can play Dylan Cease. I think it's an extreme hitters ump over there, if I remember correctly that I looked. Or Shane Baz potentially you could play. He's electric. He's got good stuff. Or the last cheapie would be Tanner Huck, but I would really just focus on those 3 or 4 guys, and that's it.
Did he have a Fu Manchu that was dyed that looked kind of like Dean's?
Yeah, he looks like I think that every time I see him, I'm thinking Dean's stash. It's so great.
I already like that dude. I didn't realize he had that stash. Now I like him even more. That's glorious. Okay, good stuff. Let's talk about the one game that is on FanDuel and is not on DraftKings. That's the Boston game. Kirkwood, you can lead us off with just your general thoughts. Dude, you want to play there? Home run calls, anything you want to talk about in that game specifically?
The cheap pitcher, Tanner Hawk, is kind of interesting. The weather is kind of okay. You know, there's some wind blowing out there, not huge, right?
Yeah,
it's like 5 to 10 mile per hour, probably around 8 miles per hour, but straight out to center. Maybe it could help a little bit for Fenway. Tyler Mahle's been really excellent this season, so I don't want to go crazy with the Sox backs. I think their implied run total might suck you in a little bit at 5.2, but I do think he's a good pitcher. So you can play guys. I think Christian Campbell is a solid play at second base for 3.3K batting cleanup. I mean, you know, I think that's a really good play if you need, you know, second base isn't so hot tonight. You know, Hawk has give up some home runs. You know, he did look good in his last start, but you know, if he reverts back, you know, any of these guys like Corey Seager, even Jock Peterson for 2.4K, who stinks this season, but could send one out for cheap. He's batting cleanup. Why not?
Okay. Anything else you want to note?
No.
Okay. Neil, you got any thoughts there from that Boston game as it pertains to the FanDuel slate?
Yeah, I think it's a game that you probably want to target for the FanDuel slate just because it is in Fenway, one of the better hitters parks out there. So I particularly like the bats here. The Red Sox, you look at the top 5 bats in their order are all bright green. If you look in Plate IQ in terms of WOBA, Jaron Duran, Rafael Devers, Alex Bregman, Christian Campbell, and Wilyer Abreu all look great as bats. So I think you can definitely build out a Red Sox stack here, even with Tyler Mahle there. Interesting. I had not realized that how much of a reverse splits pitcher Tyler Mahle is. He actually has a really high strikeout rate against lefties, both last year and this year. So that's kind of interesting. But I still think, yeah, you can build out Red Sox stack. You can even go beyond that top 5. Go to Trevor Story, go to the bottom of the order a little bit. And then Texas bats also look pretty good against Tanner Hawk. Again, just a really strong ballpark. You know, Corey Seager looks great here. Jock Peterson looks pretty good. Wyatt Langford, Josh Smith. I think both of these teams are stacks that you can target on the FanDuel slate.
Okay, good stuff. Well, let's dive into it on the DK side now, and we could start at the catcher spot. Neil, why don't you lead us off?
Yep, on DraftKings at catcher. 1 second. I am getting to JT Realmuto, so I'm targeting the Phillies bats quite a bit, and I think that's just a matter of I mostly like the lefty bats because of the park there. Tampa is it's a really strong park for lefties in particular, and I really like the lefties in Philly. So targeting the lefty bats, I'm getting to more of the righty bats also on the Phillies just because I get the full stacks that way. So I'm getting to JT Realmuto as my highest exposed catcher, followed by Hunter Goodman. In Coors Field, Alejandro Kirk, Logan O'Hoppe, Ryan Jeffers, and actually only the top 3 I'm getting to in double digits. So it's pretty flat after Realmuto, Goodman, and Kirk. And then I'm just getting to 6% O'Hoppe, Ryan Jeffers as well, and then a little bit of Sal Perez, Adley Rutschman, et cetera. But it's pretty flat for me.
Oh, okay. I'm noting here in chat. Jason was like stacks. And while that was a lovely job breaking down catcher, I forgot because I'm on so many like cold meds. We're supposed to talk about stacks. We're supposed to talk about bats. I don't think we've done that, right?
I don't think I talked about DK pitcher either.
You didn't talk about anything. I don't know what's happening, Kirkwood. Can you just lead the show? Can you? I'm Paul Pierce, and I just pooped myself, and you need to be whoever saved him that game.
So let's just clean up DK pitcher real quickly. It's because it's much different because Christopher Sanchez is extremely underpriced on DraftKings. He's probably one of the top arms. If you made him 9,500, he'd probably be the number 2 pitcher on the slate. He's 7,500. He's facing Tampa. There's strikeouts there. It's just a little bit of the park where, like I said, but it's easy to pair him with Hunter Green and just call it a day. Grant Holmes is also really cheap if you want for going down. So if you could do a Sanchez Holmes lineup and get all the bats. That's definitely a viable strategy. Waka 8,200 against the White Sox. It's like safe, but again, it's like I don't think he's going to beat you. I think if you want to go deep, you go like Dylan Cease because he's cheap. Underpriced. Yankees come with strikeouts, but obviously that could go poorly. We know with the Yankees, they just can erupt at any moment in the game. But yeah, that's what I'm doing on DK. Did you talk about DK pitcher? Okay,
I did.
So we're all set. So we'll go to stacks now. Neil, who are your favorite stacks?
Favorite stack overall on the, I guess both slates would be the Philly stack. So again, I like targeting. They're playing in a minor league stadium. I love these minor league stadiums. It's kind of somewhat of an unknown, but this one actually we have the in Plate IQ. It kind of lists out how good of a stadium it is there in Tampa, and it's a particularly good stadium for lefty bats, and the Phillies happen to have really strong lefty bats in Schwarber and Harper, so I really like those two in particular. And then of course you can mix in Max Kepler as well as Bryson Stott, and I get to more of the righties as well, just because I really like how strong the lefty bats are for the Phillies. So that one would be my top stack, the one that I'm going out of my way to target a little bit here. Obviously Detroit is in Colorado. They look pretty great. I'll be stacking a good amount of the Tigers. I think I'll be targeting the Rockies as well in Coors. We already talked about the Boston game a little bit. I don't know what to do with the Kansas City game. I think I'm going to be underweight to Kansas City anyway, but I don't know. I'm hesitant a little bit with the weather. I guess you're saying we don't need to. You think it's probably a go, Roth, so maybe you don't need to be too hesitant.
I think at this point go for it, but if you're not going to be able to check back before lock and make the pivots, before the game, then I wouldn't roll with it because it's not a safe play by any means.
Okay. And also, I guess, we're talking about stacks. So I was going to say, like, should I, play them only in stacks? Like, is it that kind of? Because
I kind of like that.
Also. Yeah,
I kind of like if you're in for a penny, in for a pound, or whatever the expression is. Like if you're in, you're in.
Yep, I think that makes sense. And then the Twins look pretty good tonight. Also, in Minnesota, it's not the best hitters ballpark, but it's a fine one. And they have one of the higher implied team totals on the slate, so I think they look pretty good. I think those would be kind of my. I actually think as long as we're targeting Tampa, you can also go to the Rays, but I prefer the Phillies there. I think that's what I've got as far as my favorite stacks, and again, the Phillies are the one that I'm targeting the most. Maybe I'm factoring in the park a little bit too much, but I see Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber in a great park for lefties, and I just want to target that. So that's my biggest lean. How about you, Kirk?
Yeah, so I do like Coors a lot tonight. I think my favorite stack is the Tigers. I don't care about the ownership. I do care, but I still like the stack so much that it's making me not care. So I decided to play more of higher dollar small field stuff, so I don't have to worry about it as much, and I just pick the backs I want. You get a really cheap second base, Colt Keith, who has a bunch of upside for 3.2K. So Kerry Carpenter is one of the top bats in the slate. Riley Green is one of the top bats. All these guys have monster power. Spencer Torkelson power. Then you got my boy Dylan Kirk Dingler. So I like that for a catcher. And then if you want to do a reach around stack, you throw Javi Baez there. No one's going to really want to play him at 4.1K at the bottom of the order. Obviously, he strikes out a ton, but Collender doesn't get up a lot of, he doesn't get a ton of Ks. He'll probably be a good pitcher long term, but I don't think he is now. His ERA is really high. He's been unlucky. Sierra is pretty high. I like both sides. And I like, obviously, the better side from an ownership perspective is just to play the other side. You got a young prospect type pitcher pitching in Coors for the first time. So you definitely attackable. Love that. I think the next best stack is probably the Twins. They went off last night. Buxton did at least, and Correa finally got going with a home run here. There's just a lot of power in there, and Charlie Morton has been so awful, and the Orioles pitching in general has been bad. Their bullpen's been really bad, so I like that. Dave Potts is going to be in. He said in his article he's going to be at the Braves game tonight, and so you have to stack the Braves. Dave runs really good in everything. He plays really good and he runs really good. So I would play a Brave stack against for leverage here against Hunter Green. Just support our man Cheese out there at the game. The Royals. When has the Royals chalk ever gotten there? I can't ever remember. But this is probably the best spot of the last couple of games. This is their worst pitcher, Jonathan Cannon, or one of the worst pitchers, and he can give up some home runs. And the bullpen has finally been getting taxed here, so this could be the night. But the weather isn't so great. Other than that, you can home run hunt against Kikuchi, who's been not so great this season. You can also play. I think I would cut it there, actually. You could play the Yankees or Phillies anytime. Both of those teams have home run upside, obviously, but they're both facing good pitchers.
Okay. Well, let's go back to Around the Horn, which is where we were before I forgot things and threw out all things. So, Kirkwood, why don't you take us to the catcher spot, and then we'll get Neil first, and we'll try to get back into some flow here.
Okay. Catcher you don't have to play it on FanDuel, but there's still a couple of good plays anyway. Ryan Jeffers, 2,700 on FanDuel is a good home run potential candidate catcher. Will be low on because it's FanDuel, and Adley Rutschman I like too as well. That's probably the only two I would play. You could play Salvador Perez, Brent Rice, but those would be the only ones that I really like in that Minnesota game, both sides. On DraftKings, Jeffers is my favorite play by far. You can get to some Dingler, 4,900. It's a little more expensive. If you want to come down to mid-range, there 4,100 is Salvador Perez. You can also play Hunter Goodman on the other side of that in the Coors game.
Okay, good stuff. Do you hear the meltdowns outside of my window?
I can hear.
It's two kids.
It's normally my kids, so it's.
I know this is a rare flip. Two of them just screaming as loud as possible. Neil, what are your thoughts at first?
First base on DraftKings. I am getting to a lot of Vlad Guerrero. Again, we are hunting those home runs. Looks good tonight. He is my highest exposed. Bryce Harper right behind him, actually. So even though I gave a boost to Bryce Harper, I'm still getting to more of Vlad Guerrero. He's significantly cheaper. Vlad just 4,900. Bryce Harper up at 5,500. Colt Keith, my third highest, again in Coors Field. And then we'll go back to Coors Field. Michael Toglia. And actually, that's it for me as far as double digits at first base. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else I have any real leans on. Not really. There's nobody else that I'm seeing that I think I need to force into my lineup. So just kind of targeting those top four for me: Guerrero, Harper, Keith, and Toglia, and then kind of getting what I get of the rest of the first baseman.
That sounds good. Kirkwood, give me your thoughts at first, then I'll run you to second, and then we'll be back into our normal flow.
Okay, I'll go quick FanDuel and then quick DraftKings. Try to make it quick. Vlad Guerrero, top play on both for first base. Although on DraftKings, I do like Torkelson a ton too as well. On FanDuel, Bryce Harper, 3,900 is definitely affordable. And so I think Vinny P, it's Prince Spaghetti Day. So it's not as good as Tortellini Tuesday, but it's a better matchup for him. So I think he's going to homer today. 3K. I think people are sick of playing this guy. I think you hop on tonight. Other than that, over on DraftKings, Vlad, like I said, Vinny is cheap, 3,300. That's really cheap. Torkelson is my favorite for the spend up, 5,400. And I like both sides of the Coors game, so I like Toglia too as well, 3,800.
Good stuff. That brings us to second base. Kirkwood, what are you doing there?
Second base, it's Colt Keith, 3,200. Electric first name, right? Colt. Electric first name in sports.
Yeah. One thing that I didn't realize here, now that I live in Texas, we have the rodeo And every cowboy, and I think these are their actual names. They're named Gunner, Colt, Lightning. Like these are their actual like birth names. Some names you're given, and then you become a professional ball player or a cowboy. And
are you guys done having kids, or is there potential?
I've had 2 girls, and everyone's like, "Hey, are you gonna try for a boy?" Like, I literally do not care. I do not want a single.
Lightning Roth would be electric, though.
That would be pretty awesome. Yeah. All right. Now I'm starting to change my tune. Maybe. All right. Anyways, second base.
So Keith, the other side is paying up for Glaber. He's probably going to come down in ownership now that a lot of it's going to go to Keith because Keith wasn't in the projected lineup all day from most places. Michael Massey is the guy at 2,400. If you want 0 for 3 and then get taken out for pinch hit, he's your guy. Although he did homer the other day, so maybe he's coming around. But man, he's had a rough go of it this season. Other than that, Matt McLean in that Atlanta game against Holmes at 4,400. I still believe in this guy's power. And he's got some speed too, and coming off of a nice game where he stole 2 bases. So if he's willing to run, he can get there that way, but he could hit a bomb off of Holmes. I like that. And Bryson Stott on the Philly side in that park in Tampa, I like, and that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Neil, your thoughts at second?
Yeah, I'm getting to a lot of Bryson Stott. He is my highest exposed currently. Alan Trejo and Colt Keith. So going back to those 2 both in that Coors game. Matt McLean always looks pretty good. Those are the only guys that I'm getting to in double digits. I'm also getting to a bit of Gleyber Torres, Jackson Holiday. And then I want to give a little shout out to Brandon Lowe, who currently I only have 7%. But again, if you like lefties in that park, it is a lefty on lefty matchup. So not ideal from that standpoint. But I do have interest in Brandon Lowe as a one-off.
Okay. How about third base?
Third base on DraftKings. Sorry. Ryan McMahon is my highest exposed. Alec Boehm, again, the Phillies. And maybe I'm getting to too much of these Phillies. I'm getting to 21% of the 8-hole hitter. Maybe not the best idea, but I do like that stack quite a bit. Ernie Clement at just 2,300 looks pretty good. Michael Garcia. Those are the only players that I'm getting to in double digits. And I don't think there's anybody else that I feel especially strongly about. Always Austin Riley looks okay. But yeah, nobody else really stands out to me.
Kirkwood, third base.
Yeah, Ryan McMahon is my favorite in Coors. He's had a rough season, but he's got a triple and a home run in his last 4 games. The third game was a game lefty, really tough matchup, lefty with Robbie Ray. So maybe he's 3,500 dirt cheap. He's always had home run upside. He's in Coors. I'm not really going to overthink it. Down at the bottom of the order now, they've moved Royce Lewis. He hasn't come on yet since coming back from being injured, but definitely a good spot against Morton and a bullpen that's been exploitable all season so far. So like that. And then if I had to pick one bat against Christopher Sanchez for the Rays, it would be Junior Caminero. The guy just rakes. He hits bombs. Yeah.
Okay. How about shortstop, Kirkwood?
All right, shortstop, Bobby Witt. Everyone knows everything about home run and speed upside. Good chance to get there, although did not last night. Gunnar Henderson. This is a really good spot against Woods for 5,200. I think this would be the ultimate cheese double dip game. Twins and the O's. Bo Bichette is priced really nicely against Kikuchi, who's been really bad this season. For what we're used to out of him, and Bo Bichette's 4,100 leading off like that. Carlos Correa has shown signs of life with a homer that no doubter last night that he belted like that. And obvious, Ellie De La Cruz. This is a great game for Ellie De La Cruz. First of all, he's not going to be owned because he's too expensive. He's 5,900, and it's tough tonight with salary, but this is a guy who walks a ton of batters, and if you walk Ellie De La Cruz, it's almost like a home run. If
you walk him to third.
Yeah, you're walking him to third, exactly. So really like that, and then obviously he could do it by the bat too as well. So those are my favorites.
Okay, good stuff. Neil, your thoughts at third? By the way, at short rather, I saw you talking crap that I don't know about Dayquil. It's too late, right? Because I actually considered it. if I take a Dayquil now, am I screwed? I won't be able to sleep.
4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours, and you can take a NyQuil, and then you just like you keep going with the cycle. So if you're going to be up for another 4 hours,
it's not going to keep you up. The Dayquil doesn't keep you up. It's just gives you, it just cuts out the drowsy medicine part. So you still could fall asleep.
Oh, all right. I thought it was going to get me all like crazy.
No caffeine or anything in it.
Oh,
you're good.
all right. Then I'm in. As soon as the show is over, I will Dayquil up. You're right. Shortstop, what are we doing there?
First, I'll say I love that note on Ellie De La Cruz. And now I'm thinking I probably need to boost him a little bit because I'm currently at only 5%. But I think that's a really strong point that he's probably going to get on base. And once he's on base, going to steal a base. So yeah, maybe I have to bump him a little bit. But currently, Trey Turner is my highest exposed shortstop, followed by Alan Trejo, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt, who I have not set any rules, mostly because I don't know how to set the rules to only have players in stacks. But maybe I'll try to figure that out. But currently getting to 12% Bobby Witt. Trey Sweeney, I'm getting to a good amount of in the 8-hole in Colorado. Bo Bichette, and that's it for me as far as double digits. But again, going to bump up Ellie De La Cruz a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Then you get to bring us to the outfield. It is the most glorious position of all the positions. I see a whole lot of tags on a whole lot of dudes. So what do you like?
Yep. Brenton Doyle leading off in Colorado looks good. Anthony Santander, Jordan Beck, Kyle Schwarber, Max Kepler, again, going back to those lefties for the Phillies, Kerry Carpenter, Mickey Moniak, Riley Green. Man, I'm getting to a lot of players in double digits here. Oh, and actually it's sorted wrong. Let me resort this. No, I think it's mostly good. There was just one player. I don't know what happened. Anyway, Nick Castellanos. Did I say Taylor Ward? I had to redo it because things were out of order, but I think we're good now. Jorge Soler, and I think that is it for me as far as double digits. And from there, I'm just kind of, the rest are what gets in there in the opto.
Yeah. Okay. Kirkwood, your favorites in the outfield.
Yep. It's Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green. They're going to be very chalky, but there's massive upside with them. Byron Buxton is also massive upside against Morton, who has been so bad. And I've loved every minute of it because of that. My friend who's an Orioles fan and is always talking smack. But Aaron Judge, obviously, home run hunting. Anthony Santander has always hit lefties very well. 3,900 is just a little too cheap for the home run upside there. Brenton Doyle, I like Jordan Beck too. For just a little bit cheaper, you get 600 savings. Batting second there for the Rockies. George Springer batting cleanup now. Seems like a pretty good spot against Kikuchi. Let's see who else. Larnack, massive home run upside for 4K. Taylor Ward had a nice night. His StatCast stuff has all been great this season. Just he hasn't had any of the results. He finally hit a home run last night, first at bat. But this is a guy I've been playing anyway. This is, as long as his StatCast stuff looks really good, which it does, then I'm on board all the time with him. So 3,300 giddy up for me against Berrios, and then Jorge Soler is gonna homer soon at some point. He's been, his metrics have been a little bit worse, but not that bad as the results have been. Did have a good little stretch at one point this season, but and he's been brutal lately. But definitely like him. And then that's about it. Cedric Mullins, of course, 5,300 leading off.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Let's give the people some home run calls. And Kirkwood, you did just mention a few names of guys who you said are going to bomb, at least eventually. But let's dive into it. Neil, why don't you give me a few players here, something chalky, something a little lower owned that you like for hitting a bomb?
I mean, you already know who I'm going to say. My hot take of the day was that both Harper and Schwarber are going to homer tonight. Those are my two favorites. I think I even listed Max Kepler as my under the radar home run call of the day, just going to those lefty bats in Tampa. I would say those three, you get two that are sort of chalky, and then one that is nobody's really betting on Max. Actually, maybe Max Kepler. Maybe I couldn't do that because it was his odds were too good. And as you know, I have a standard there. Now I'm trying to remember who I picked as my home run call of the day, and I'm Trevor Larnach. I think kind of an off the wall home run pick that was
going to be mine. So there you go.
Love it. Love that I stole that. yeah, I think that's all I've got right now. I'll see if I can. Oh, Brandon Lowe, actually, maybe sort of off the wall, kind of interesting.
Okay. All right. Kirkwood, you got a few names?
Yeah. Anthony Santander, 3,900 against Kikuchi. Love that. So that would be my number one. I think I think George Springer too looks really good. So I think like one of those guys at least is going to bomb tonight, Springer or Santander. And then I'll go off the wall for cores. Well, I'll say Jordan Beck, 3,700 batting second, goes deep tonight. And I'm going to stick to my guns and say Jorge Soler finally gets one for me, at least, because I've been playing him lately.
Okay. Very good. We want to make sure that people hit the thumbs up. We've got 100 likes. That's pretty good. That's respectable. But we want more than that. The reason the show is free is that we get eyeballs if it's free, but we only get the eyeballs if you hit the thumbs up. So if you don't hit the thumbs up, then we don't get the eyeballs, then the show won't be free. See how that works? It's like we're doing this for you, but you got to do for a little scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type thing. So your responsibility is hitting that thumbs up for us. It would be greatly appreciated. And I want to make sure you're getting the best deal in the industry as well. MLB DFS annual option. It's $425, or as you may know it, 8,332 Mexican pesos. And that for 6 months of content is fantastic. We dropped the price of our Combo Pro to match the MLB annual package. So now you're getting all the sports for the same price, which is amazing. You're talking content, tools, projections for every sport except NASCAR at a cheaper price than the monthly package. In fact, you're saving 35% if you do the 6 month instead of month by month by month. Let's see if we've got any questions going on. The funny thing about my back, Jules, is that's good. That's good.
I love that.
That was good. I got that joke. I understood it. And
What's that from? I forget.
Super bad.
Super bad.
Super bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
The funny
Greatest.
yeah.
Is that not the greatest comedy
now,
of like?
I remember it now. Yes, yeah. It really is.
It
probably
just
watched that movie
resonated so hard with like
10
what I
times.
was doing in high school. I was just
Yeah,
trying
it
to
was-
find ways to procure booze, drink booze, and do stupid things with women. Like that's all that high school was. It was great. It was just,
I mean,
man.
that movie was electric, and then Old School was electric too for like a comedy. But I say Superbad's better.
Yeah, Superbad is one of my favorite movies of all time. It was just so good. It just hit the spot, man. All right, I think we're somewhere kind of close to lock. Let's take some QQs. I'm starting in the Discord. That's where the cool kids hang out. DK Cash, 4,200 or below in the outfield. Kirkwood, DK Cash, outfield, 4,200 or cheaper. What do you got?
Santander. You're going to save a little money if you did you say 4,300 or below?
42.
Okay, yeah. So you can't get Doyle. So I would say Santander or Trevor Larnach, but he's probably not the best cash play. But Santander, and you could even get to Jordan Beck. Like I said, I liked him at 3,700.
Okay, very good. FanDuel Cash, Sweeney or Gunner? Neil, this is for you. You want Sweeney or Gunner? For what it's worth, Sweeney completes the stack, but it is cash, not GPP, so I don't know how much we care.
Yeah, I don't know that I really care about the stack there. It looks like it would probably be Gunner for me. I'm getting to more of Gunner, so
yeah.
I guess I'll go with Gunner as my answer.
That is fair. FanDuel single entry. Neil, I'm coming right back to you here. Mikhail Garcia or Royce Lewis? P.S. I'm playing 3 other Minnesota players.
I will go with Royce Lewis in that case. And maybe regardless, I think that I'd probably rather go there to Royce Lewis.
Okay, very good.
He's ball. He's ball. He wears one of those like caps under his helmet, like a
do-rag.
Yeah, and he's like completely. He's like he's kind of like Chop. You know, Chop. Have you ever seen Chop without a hat on?
No.
Yeah, no one has. Nobody has.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's
got to be something there. There's something there. We played basketball, and he played with a hat on. Wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what else we've got. How do you gents feel about Jose Berrios? I'm one of my favorites. Berrios, DK large field GPP. Kirkwood, you got any Berrios? Pour him up.
He always can string a good start together, and he's starting to come along. But I like the Angels, man. I think I like the Angels. I think Neto is a good player. I think Ward's going to snap out of it. Soler's got some upside. I'm not on board. I'm not playing Berrios tonight.
Okay. What is Cease's projected ownership? Neil, this is for you. I talked myself into playing him in single entry because of the Yankees strikeout rate. So
Pretty
what is
good.
this is projected ownership?
Looks like 11.5%. So that's not too bad for a pitcher.
Okay, very good. FanDuel, coming right back to you, Neil. Boney SP says Rutschman Torkelson or Dingler Mullins. Which of those two do you prefer?
I think Rutschman Torkelson.
Okay. Ruthless Villain, living up to his name with this comment. He says, nobody cool hangs out in the Discord. That's offensive and wrong. But you are Ruthless Villain, so like you're allowed to say that, I guess. Kirkwood, DK single entry GPPs. I'm taking this from the Discord where the cool kids hang out. Straight up, Kirkwood, Larnach or Soler, 2-man Minnesota versus 2-man Angels.
He has 2 each, probably, is what he's saying. So
yeah, so whichever one he chooses would be a 2.
Okay. Man, for ownership purposes, I'd say Soler. Larnach's going to be popular tonight. I like Larnach better a little bit, but if you're looking for some more GPP upside, lower ownership, I'd go Soler.
Okay. We got a 3v3 Kirkwood DK Cash. 3v3 coming your way. Vladdy, Gunnar, and Ward, or Vinny, Witt, and Doyle.
Yeah, the first option.
Okay. All right. See what else we got. Devin says, I've been bald since 19. Big hat guy over here. So I'm going, right? I don't have much time left. Like, look, we're going here. But hats don't fit my head. They don't. If I put a hat on, it pushes my ears down, or I have to tuck my ears into a hat.
You can buy ladies' hats. So I actually made the mistake. I bought a Timberwolves hat at the Timberwolves game, wore it for a year, and it never fit me quite right because it was like, it felt like it was like way too high on me. I was like, what's going on? And then my wife tried it on. It fit her perfectly. So I looked and I was like, oh, this says it's a women's hat, which I didn't realize that they made women's hats. Apparently, women have shorter heads in general. So yeah, if you have a shorter head,
so I have a woman's head. Okay.
You have a woman's head.
Well,
woman's head broth.
Yes. Yeah. All right.
Somehow I'm gonna shape this somehow into a good nickname. Beetlejuice or something, maybe.
Don't make me laugh. All right, let's see. 1 stack to win it all. But actually, first a weather question. Are the Royals a big risk due to weather? Is a question from Peter. Right now, I think I say go for it. I kind of like the way Radar looks. I think it looks good. I want to see pregame, make sure Radar looks good, make sure they're warming up, make sure there's no tarp. But right now, I am cautiously optimistic, and I would tell you not to fade that game. I would say do what you were planning on doing. But please check back before first pitch in case all of a sudden, something pops, because it can. So please double check with me. Okay, the next question was 1 stack to win it all. Eric says mine is the Angels. He might be trolling. But I don't know. Maybe he's serious. Kirkwood, 1 stack to win it all. And then Neil, I want your thought after that.
Man, I said the Angels too, and it's not often that I agree with Lippy Eric in chat there. But the other one I'll say would be that, like, I'm playing the Tigers. I'm playing a lot of chalk tonight, but if I'm not playing if I'm playing in large field, then I'd say Angels or Rockies.
Okay, Neil,
Phillies. Yeah, I've been talking about them. Yeah, I love the lefty bats in particular. I'm paying up. I'm getting both Schwarber and Harper into my Philly stacks, and then just mixing around. I mean, Kepler, you can make it kind of cheap. Stott leading off, he's actually pretty expensive also. But yeah, you can make some nice teams because we've got some nice spend down options at pitcher that allow you to pay up at for your stack, and the Phillies getting not a ton of ownership.
Yeah. Okay. The amount of people in chat, by the way, telling me to shave my head is alarming. It's not. I'm not. I've got some time.
No, you've got plenty there.
I've got
how many? You got a lot of.
Jesus.
You could even grow it out a little and comb over a little.
That's what this is. This is very elaborate. I actually have like 3 hairs that start here and they loop all the way. They just go all the way around repeatedly. Nice. Very long. That's a good look.
There you go.
See, that's the power shave too. You're not even messing around. That's just
I just go all the way.
Yeah, and if you get the beard to balance it out, it looks good. Honestly,
didn't look good on me without the beard, but the beard makes it.
You get the beard, it works. It works with the beard.
I say no hat, Neil.
Derek White-esque is that?
I've done some of that this year. No
Look at
hat
that.
shows.
No hat.
You got a good beard. Like you got like the
got a good head for it.
Appreciate
Got
it.
it.
Appreciate it.
I got a lumpy
great
head.
head. Great
I don't-
head. You look
The
amazing.
one thing
man.
about Neil, when I think Neil, I think great
I'm
head.
glad I took my hat off. Yeah, this is great. Oh God. Pause.
If only Chop would show us what he's worked with. That's
All right, where are we at here? We'll see if the Discord folks are more on track than anybody else. Here we go. Neil, I need a tiebreaker DK large field tournament for pitcher. Can the fellas choose 2 of the 3? Sanchez, Holmes, Cease. 2 of those 3. Neil, you can go first. Sanchez, Holmes. What was the last one? Hang on.
Cease.
Cease,
I do the first 2 though. Sanchez and Holmes.
Okay. Kirkwood.
That's correct answer. But I think if you're really trying to go, I think Cease could light up the Yankees tonight, strike out a bunch.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
But Sanchez would be my number 1 play.
Yeah. Okay. Anthony says, if the Kansas City opens in a delay, is that bad news? I think so. It would sort of be radar dependent, but my current thinking is that they will start on time, and them not starting on time would be a little bit alarming to me. And maybe there just happens to be a shower that popped up in his clearing and it's fine. But generally speaking, I would not like that at all. Let's see here. I love my lineup, Neil, but I've got $1,000 left on DraftKings. Crunch Time watching now number just went up as soon as Neil took off the hat. We had about 1,000 viewers. Now we've got 10,000.
And not only that,
yeah, people.
Third of them are women.
Glad I can.
Yeah, that's first time ever. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I've got $1,000 left, Neil, in a DraftKings lineup from Detox. But he loves his lineup. Is that a problem for you?
Not at all. MLB, you can leave $1,000, no problem.
Okay. Kirk, Torque or Rice?
Torque.
DK Cash, Kirkwood, Santander or Beck?
Santander.
Hoosier saying Banner says, careful, Neil, somebody just got pregnant out there. Yeah. Let's see. Butthole suggests instead of going full bald, I do a Chuck Liddell mohawk. That would be a good. I think I can pull it off.
Yeah,
Pull it off for sure.
Butthole's a man. He knows what's popping in the streets.
Yeah. This is an important question for you, Kirkwood. Alan says, do the Orioles wake up or are they still gutless?
Gutless.
They're
Gutless. But they can kind of hit. It's more their pitching is the major problem. Yeah, they're gutless.
Okay. Let's see. Cease or Sanchez? Neil, that one's for you.
Sanchez.
By the way, Sanchez. All right. I think we're roughly 2 minutes until lock, something like that. Does that sound about right?
Well, it depends.
Yeah, it's at 5 after. Just sometimes they're at 15 after, and you're just like, well, why? Why do you do that? DK Cash. Here we go, Neil. This one's for you. Kirk and Witt or Rutch and Neto? Kirk and Witt or Rutch and Neto?
It's probably, if you're not worried about the game getting canceled, it's probably the first one, Kirk and Witt.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Speaking of, might as well take a little look at radar and looking at it looks just kind of how it's looked for the last few hours. There's some light rain, but it's nothing that would stop play if they were currently playing. I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't think it's safe, but if you wanted to play it, like, I'm on board. I think right now it probably plays. So we'll see. Of course, again, that is assuming they start on time and they're warming up and all that jazz. We are now like 1 minute. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's a fair comparison for what it's worth. I don't like it. DK Cash, Kirkwood, Kirk and Lee, or Jeffers Clement?
Yikes. I guess the first.
Okay. Who is more likely to smash? Neil, this one's for you. Twins, Yanks, Tigers. Who is most likely to smash?
Tigers. I mean, in Coors Field, it's got to be Tigers.
Yeah. Okay. Steve says DK single entry. Coming right back to you, Neil. Correa and Lewis or Moncada. Did I read that right? Correa? Oh, okay. Okay. Correa and Lewis or Moncada and Neto.
Correa and Lewis.
Okay.
Can I for the BVP truthers out there who love the chop BVP calls? I just want to point out that Moncada has 3 homers and 39 at bats against Berrios.
In 39 at bats, is that good?
Yeah, and he's got 12 hits. He's definitely hits him well.
Okay. I should note that Steve-O, that question he actually said, and I just ignored it. He said, or Moncada, parentheses, BVP and Neto. So he was on board with that.
Nice.
I'm not saying I'm a truther. I'm just saying for the BV. It's like Chop's the suggestion. Just a suggestion.
All right, we've hit lock. Any significant concerns from your dew point model, Kirk, before we clear out of here?
Wow, no, the dew point model is great. I love that you went and talked about dew point last night. I was like, tell them wrong. Right. You know, it's like
you just get more people on your dew point model. Let them know.
Yeah. But I can't talk about it. We've got some big things in the work here that we're trying to sign. We're
thinking about pairing up, but there's a lot of money at stake here. It's tough to split.
You're tough. You know, you're not backing down. You got your lawyer. I'll say your lawyer is good.
You're right. When there's friends and business, combine, it can be contentious.
Yeah.
Let's see. Then this is the final question from J Sams. Neil, can you ask Neil how he sees stadium info on Plate IQ?
It is. If you go to Plate IQ, it's on the top left. So if you on the batter's box, there is just a line of information. It says runs, ISO, WOBA, K percentage. There is a Park L and Park R where you can see the park factor for right-handed batters and park factor for left-handed batters towards the top of the page.
Very good. Okay, there you go. Now you have your option. All right. My 2 kids are still screaming from like 40 minutes ago, so I'm going to try to help out there. And I'm going to take all of the Dayquil, all of it. So for Neil, which I guess I've learned recently that this is reversed. So for Neil, for Kirkwood, on my screen, it's backwards. But for Neil, for Kirkwood, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been Crunch Go Knicks.
Oh, had to slide that in there.
I think we're supposed to end the show.
This is because we have Tim, and Tim doesn't know that he's supposed to.
Tim is unaware that the show needs to end.
This show is just not going to end. Do we just leave?
I think you can leave. I'll hang out here for another minute and talk.